What's up, everybody? And welcome to, well, we're talking Justice League. We're talking 2021 Justice League. What's up, Twisted people? I am one of your main hosts, Chauncey K Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR, and I'm joined by Michael Damien, who is a comedian and host, and Damon Droc Robinson. I'm not even going to mention the Marvel fan thing in the parentheses here. And together they are the Fried Disciples. And, you may know Michael, of course, as my person, but also the person who was with me on the Stand series. And also those of you who know Damon, who we did the WandaVision series together. And basically they have an upcoming, recently, like today launched, although it's been in planning stages for some time, recently launched Fried Disciples YouTube channel, where they will be blazing through popular culture because they are connoisseurs of a certain herb sense. And things like that. So you can, in the description, find the link to their YouTube if you want to get on it to subscribe, because they will be doing weekly recaps of Falcon and Winter Soldier on the Marvel one. And their upcoming first video of that will be going up on Tuesday. And so today we're going to be talking about Justice League 2021, but we also got to talk about Justice League 2017 and just the whole DC extended universe shebang when it comes to what it is and what we're dealing with. Especially now that we have the Justice League 2021, the question on whether or not it's going to be considered canon. I got some news on that, and the news that was going on before this started. And I want to pose a question, to all of you who are joining us in the replay, and also those of you who are joining us in the live. It's always appreciated for you all to join us. Did you think the 2021 version was better than the 2017 version if you saw it? And also, do you think they need to restore the Snyderverse, aka the Snyderverse being Zack Snyder, who created, who basically did this Justice League version, did Batman versus Superman, did Man of Steel, and the question on whether or not we need to restore the Snyderverse, which is what many people are calling for now that we have Justice League, the 2021 version. So we're gonna, marinate on that, talk about it in the chat. Ray is already who joined us in the live chat. Thanks for joining us. Already saying this was a way better film, and yes, restore the Snyderverse. And we're gonna talk about that too among ourselves. And I got some thoughts on I want to restore the Snyderverse. I just don't want to restore every single thing that came out and some of the other ideas he had, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first and foremost, and also if you have not already given this video a like, please do so. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? You should totally subscribe, because I love slicing into storytelling here on the channel at Twisted CKR. We love to do it. So I guess the first and foremost thing is, what are y'all overall thoughts of Justice League 2021? And just for a perspective to let y'all know, Damon is first and foremost a Marvel fan. We'll forgive him for that, for being more of a Marvel fan than a DC person. And I'm the DC fan. I'm the main DC fan. And Michael is coming to it as someone who mainly just loved Spider-Man growing up. So he doesn't know a lot about the other comics. So we think it's important to get somebody, who also is coming to this as someone who came to watch a movie and whether or not they liked the movie. So just keep that in mind as we talk about what we liked and what's going on and the whole thing around it. Okay, so we'll start with Damon, my brother. What were your overall thoughts of Justice League 2021?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it better than the first one because it explained the story more. It was like a whole different story to me, a whole different movie kinda from the first version. I don't know exactly why the first version went the way it went, and this one, which was so different in the storytelling and everything, why it went that way. But
we'll get into that. Yeah,
I enjoyed it. They stepping up their movie game. DC.
Mm-hmm.
Like we stepping up our TV game. They stepping up their movie
with
game.
Marvel. Okay.
Yeah.
Michael, what do you think? What were your overall thoughts as someone who I made sit through the 4 hours of this film? Unmute, babe. Unmute.
I apologize. I'm also bad at technology. I thought after watching, I love this 4 hours that I just spent. I mean, to me, the duration of a movie doesn't really mean anything because I love The Irishman and like the Lord of the Ring extended cuts and all that fun stuff. But comparatively, I watched the Whedon one when it came out because I heard it wasn't good. And so I'm like, wow, I still feel ripped off. And I don't know. I thought this movie that I just watched, the Snyder Cut, was a film. It was an adventure. You got everything. And even though at the beginning of the movie, I was like, why are you showing the exact same sequence of how they get all 3 boxes without leaving anything out? Like no montage. But even that was interesting. It was more interesting as it was than annoying. Like, I was like, okay, this is actually good because it pays off 4 hours later.
Yeah, right.
And I really enjoyed it. And I've been a Snyder fan since Dawn of the Dead back in 2004.
Yeah, because Snyder also does horror movies as well, and he does them really great. So we know he's a capable filmmaker. Him and his wife, who make a powerful dynamic duo, Deborah Snyder, who I'll have some tea about in a little bit regarding the Whedon cut. But Red Eyes, who is also joining us in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Red Eye. Red Eyes, who is my fellow DC fan here. Although we don't always agree. Red Eyes is saying 2017 Justice League was trash compared to this. And yes, they need to restore the Snyderverse. Ray in the chat is also saying Dark Side design was a choice. I like the Dark Side design. We'll talk about that for a little bit. Red Eye saying after watching this,
he was very Thanos looking.
Oh, come on, come off it, man.
Hey.
Dark Side is a way more intense
villain
and a better villain than Thanos.
The way they had him on that movie, he is.
Well, you know, it's not like Thanos invented the will of menacing Overlord.
I know.
I mean, I know that's your point of reference.
He ain't the only gray hulking figure they could have came up with.
First of all, Thanos was purple, which is very Marvel.
That guy looked it similar.
Here's where I'm going to step in and probably piss both fandoms off. I love Thanos for the sole reason that he was just a gardener at heart who just hated people and wanted to be alone. And Darkseid was actually scary.
That part.
And I was like, oh, wow, there's like some interdimensional hell stuff happening here. And Thanos was an alien that seemed like he was from this plane. But nothing wrong with Thanos. He can be really cool, you know. But Darkseid was like, Darkseid's metal.
Darkseid is definitely DC is more of a metal. You know, there's actually a current I think it's still going, a current DC Comics one called Death Metal, DC Death Metal comics that are going, comic series that's going on that people should check out. Ray is saying, I love them both. They are so different. Marvel is more relatable to as things are, and DC is more like the ideal like propaganda to me. And I also want to point out what Red Eyes is saying about the Amazons. We'll talk about that too, because oh my gosh, watching the Amazons in this 2021 version, I was just like, I said it too. I was like, I need a show. I need a movie. I need something. Cause I love Wonder Woman, but oh my gosh, you know, show him your fear. We don't have any fear. And I was just like, you know, can I get more of this? We need to do an Amazons, just like Marvel needs to do the women of Black Panther, that army of Black Panther of women. I feel like DC needs to do an Amazon series. I want both of those things.
Yeah, man.
Red Eyes saying, don't know about Marvel stepping up their TV. Falcon Winter Soldier didn't start strong for me. I guess we'll have to talk about that on the Falcon and Winter Soldier recap.
Yes, we will, because I liked it.
Find Chronicles. Y'all can, subscribe to them. They'll be doing longer form recaps. I'll probably be doing like a shorter form recap for this one. Night Watch, who is joining us in the chat, is saying, "Hey everyone, hey Chauncey, the Amazon scenes were unbelievable, right? Oh my gosh, Night Watch, they were amazing. I was like, I just need more of. I need more of what's going on over here. I love these people.
They really were. It really was good. I mean, they was good in the first cut too.
Yeah,
but,
I felt like it was more intense in this cut.
Yeah,
though.
yeah, it was. It was. It definitely was.
Yeah.
This version was a whole. It was a whole lot better. Like a whole lot of stuff was explained. He gave the characters more time.
He understood them more.
Yeah.
He understood them. I felt like Whedon didn't, and we'll talk about this. It felt like Whedon didn't understand these characters. We'll talk about, because Whedon did the Avengers, and this isn't going to be a whole thing where Marvel versus DC, but you kind of have to talk about it because the person who came in and did the 2017 version did a lot of Marvel-esque Avenger stuff to this one and to the 2017 one. You do have to compare that style that he set the precedent for versus what it needed to be when it came to what we eventually got. Oren is dropping some comic book knowledge on us where he's saying Darkseid was created before Thanos by the same guy.
So, what I'm saying is the way they made the character, like the stoutness and stuff, because from what I'm in Darkseid, he kind of tall, he kind of more Superman like build, not stocky as they had him in this version. He's a stocky kind of character, which reminded me of Thanos. That's all I'm saying. It put me in the mindset of Thanos.
Yeah,
when I seen Darkseid. Yeah,
because he was our first. I mean, honestly, to be honest, Marvel was the one that got a big bad to the cinematic universe before DC got with the Darkseid one in cinematic form. So that is going to be some people's point of reference, and it's going to, unfortunately be something that people will initially compare to. Hey, Keely, thanks for joining us in the chat. And thank you to all of you who are joining us in the chat and the replay. We're diving deep into Justice League. And like I said, if you haven't already given a thumbs up to this video, please do so. And also be sure to subscribe. And if you have something that you want us to go a little bit deeper on, or you just want to show some love, give some super chat love or a question, because there's so much to talk about when it comes to DC and when it comes to Justice League 2021. So we'll be getting into that overall. So, okay. So Keely is also pointing out Jack Kirby has contributed to both Marvel and DC. So it runs deep. It definitely runs deep. Night Watch is saying, seeing Hippolyta escaping the temple was a great scene. This flushed out the Amazon so much more. Exactly. This was such an intense thing.
Well, you learn something new every day. That name, that's the mother from Lovecraft, right? Hippolyta.
Yeah, Hippolyta from the Lovecraft series. Yes. It's a very and it kind of makes sense for what ended up happening to a character for those who have been watching the HBO Max Lovecraft Country. So very symbolic.
She was fighting the yes,
very much. And so that's something as well. So
I love that show.
Yeah. I have my issues with it, but I thought it was overall good. At least the first couple, you know me. At least the first couple episodes I enjoyed. Of Lovecraft.
That theme song, though, the end of the credits, is really good.
Yes, that you sing all the time. Where you're gonna run to?
Cinnamon. Really good. Like, that's really catchy.
Okay. All right. So we got our overall thoughts. For those of you who might want to know, as a Rotten Tomatoes official film critic, I gave my viewpoint on their page, as people have been seeing that comparison to the 2017 version versus the 2021 version of Rotten Tomatoes is light years ahead, the 2021 version. I like to, I'm proud of myself that I contributed to that because I gave it an A+ for my official Rotten Tomatoes review. Michael, what would be your official grade for Justice League 2021?
Yeah, definitely an A+, because it was more than just a comic book movie. Like, it was an actual film. It was an adventure. And everything that happened in the first half of the movie happened or caught up and had a meaning in the latter half.
Yeah.
And also that the musical numbers that they put into the movie, like they weren't needed, but it added more of a cinematic element to it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the music too and the music score that was going on, because there were choices made for better or worse. And I know not everyone was for it necessarily. Some of the choices made with some of the music. Damon, if you had to give it a grade, and y'all let me know in the chat and also in the replay, what would be your grade for 2021's Justice League? Damon, what grade would you give it?
I'd give it a B++.
That's an A.
I'll give it an A.
B++.
I gave Aquaman an A too. So they're about even.
The Aquaman solo movie?
Yeah, they're about even.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let us know in the chat and the replay, y'all.
Endgame an A+.
You give it A+, you said?
I said I gave Endgame an A+.
Oh, okay, but we're not talking about Marvel. But
I mean,
okay,
just to give you a reference of how.
Oh, so you gave Endgame an A+, you give Justice League an A.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, one could argue that Endgame was the end of a saga. Justice League is the beginning, so it's kind of hard to compare.
I gave it an A. An A is good.
Ray's calling you out, Damon. He's like, Damon, give it an A.
An A is good.
You should give B++. Okay, Marvel fan. All right. Okay. All right. So I think, overall thoughts and things, and we want to dive into what was actually, happening and things we love. But I think it's also important to talk about with this, the drama, how we got here, right? Released the Snyder Cut. It was a pipe dream that no one thought was going to happen. Justice League, the first one came out, and I have a video that kind of explains this drama for those who want a little bit of a more thorough version of this and where it's at. But, we had the Justice League Whedon version come out. Snyder's name was still on it, but basically, Snyder and Zach and Deborah had experienced a death in their family. And so they had to step away, and they brought Whedon in. The Warner Brothers Studios brought Whedon in, was like, hey, and I'm sure they thought this was a power move. They got the guy that did Avengers, which was super successful, right? And so they bring him in. He basically demolishes whatever script, the scripts that Snyder had, and he cut up a lot of stuff in terms of what Snyder had wanted. And Snyder, they had actually filmed a good amount of it, but basically Whedon came in, cut a lot of stuff, and wanted to do a lot of reshoots. So we got a lot of different things. And then what we eventually got was allegations of a really messed up set. We've heard things such as Ben Affleck, our Batfleck guy, and we got to talk about Batman because Ben Affleck did the darn thing in this one as well as Batman. But, we heard that Ben Affleck wanted to try to rally everyone to walk off set when Whedon was there. Jason Momoa wasn't feeling Whedon. Gal Gadot allegedly Gal Gadot actually came out. It's not even alleged. She said she had reported Whedon because of a confrontation that happened on set, and she felt like it got, resolved to her liking to the most part. Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg, who was done dirty, in my opinion, in the Whedon version versus what we were supposed to get and what we eventually saw in this one, was probably one of the main ones pushing the crusade to have accountability for the allegations against Whedon and others that he felt had, enabled Whedon to have the power trips and the kind of behavior, the alleged behavior he had on screen. So this was kind of going on behind the scenes and also in front of the camera, right? More so, there was a behind the scene issue of that. And, honestly, one could argue with those bad vibes, no wonder the movie came out the way it did. But then, in front of the camera, you had a lot of cuts that happened. And so what we ended up getting was a movie that, although it was like almost $300 million of a budget, it only made back double, which means it basically just got back the money they spent on it. So they didn't lose money, I guess, but you also got to count, advertising and marketing. So they might have lost some money on this, but for the most part, comparatively speaking to like the Avengers, and then what we ended up getting in 2017, it was not the mega hit that was sought after. And, you know, a lot of things came from that, right? Some people felt like it was the studios because of the response that happened with Snyder's Batman versus Superman, that the studios became micromanaging towards him. And basically they stepped in kind of like they gutted Batman versus Superman, which I'll admit I didn't particularly care for, but realizing what they did kind of stamp on, you see that there was issues with that. They did the same thing when Whedon came in, and basically we went from what we ended up getting in 2021, which is this 4-hour version, to what Whedon did of the 2017 version, which was a little under 2 hours, which is crazy because even his Avengers was over 2 hours. You almost kind of think that was Whedon like some undercover Marvel spy trying to sabotage DC, because it was like, yo, you did Justice League kind of dirty. Like most superhero movies get at least 2.5 hours. How did you do a movie that had multiple superheroes under 2 hours with that big of a plot scope? How do you do that if you don't just cut it up? And honestly, if I had to give a grade to the 2017 version, I would have given it a D. I wasn't necessarily for a Justice League movie just yet in any sense, because I thought it was too soon. I felt like Warner Brothers was trying to rush into the Avengers thing where they needed to do more solo movies. But I have to say, now that I've seen the Snyder Cut, I'm like, now I can see how they could have done that and it made sense and it wasn't premature. But I will say, when I saw the Whedon version, I was like, see, this is why they needed more solo movies before that. I honestly thought I was vindicated, but in reality, it was more so because Whedon had just bastardized the vision that Snyder had. What are y'all thoughts about that, about the drama that went on behind the scenes and the cutting up? Do you think that tainted what we could have gotten in 2017? And let me know in the chat and in the replay, y'all.
Definitely. I don't understand. I don't know why they didn't just take a look at both the movies and see which one was the better one. It was real simple. If I'd have looked at that one first and then looked at that one, it was just an easy choice.
Well, the thing was, Snyder's wasn't done yet, right? Basically, Whedon came in and because Snyder kept his name on it. So Whedon didn't necessarily, he came in as an uncredited director or whatever, but he was really behind the helm once Snyder pulled back on it. And so what you had wasn't a finished product that Snyder had. So Whedon kind of came in and finished it, but he also kind of reworked it too. So I don't know. And at the time, Warner Brothers, honestly, you know, they were under the pinch. They wanted a Marvel Cinematic Universe so bad, I feel like, that they let their desperation kind of get in the way of really allowing DC to be the kind of brand that DC is. DC is not Marvel. It's a totally different kind of tone of characters and scope, you know, of storylines, you know, and I felt like they wanted to they didn't, you know, and that's what happens. You get execs, you get money men talking about the creative process, and they didn't really know what they were doing. They were just thinking about the bottom line.
Because it's a business to them.
Yeah.
I really hope the Snyderverse becomes canon, just because it's clearly a better movie. I didn't feel ripped off after watching it, and you actually learned something. And this movie was a film, and the original one was like vignettes.
Yeah.
And then there's one iPhone shot, and like that was very weird. That's one thing I remember, is the iPhone and everybody fighting Superman in the tomb. And it just wasn't fun or appealing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it at all.
Oren is
anything else to add to that?
Yeah. Oren is saying in the chat, why would DC want to destroy their best bet against the MCU? Why would they? Ray is saying Whedon, problematic. Ray is also saying Cyborg had justice in Snyderverse. He was always supposed to be way more central in this story. Hello, Darkseid and Motherbox, LOL, laugh out loud. How is he not the front? Exactly. Yeah. Red Eye saying all the black characters were done dirty by Whedon. Shaking my head. Oh, we're going to talk about that. We got to talk about the fact that suddenly in the Snyder Cut, the movie became like 80% more diverse, and they were all supposed to be there. And then it's like, whoa, wait a minute, did he cut out like all the major people of color for the 2000 scene version who had already filmed their scenes, mind you? It's not like, oh, they haven't filmed their scenes, we don't have time, let's just do this. It was more so they filmed their scenes, he just straight up cut them. We didn't just straight up figured we don't need all these people who happen to be people of color. And I was like, yo, that's too glaring not to be. You know, but honestly, if y'all ever watch
explain about the dark side, just let them pop up.
Right? But yeah, if any of you have ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Whedon, then you know he's not the most when it comes to diversity anyway. Oren is saying Cyborg backstory is a lot better in the Snyder Cut. Ray points out, Flash scene sticks out to me the most. Laugh out loud. Strange and creepy, beautiful, and a love letter to Fox Quicksilver. Very true. Ray's also thinking, I think this was better than Aquaman. I didn't feel like the stakes were as high with Curry. I like different power sets, and it was just too close. Yeah. And Red Eyes points out, WB executives need to back off. They wanted a more light tone Marvel-like film. And when Zach had the unfortunate, death in his family, they used that to their advantage. Yeah, one could argue they wanted to change it up. Batman versus Superman, a lot of the critiques, and I'll even admit I was one of them, was that some of the tone is kind of depressing. And that's what I was worried about with Justice League 2021, because I was like, I like Man of Steel, but I thought B versus S was so depressing to me. And I was just like, this is just too dark. I need a little bit of lightheartedness. And I was very happy to see that with this one, there was a balance of the quirks that happened, not Whedon's quirks, but real natural comedy that happened throughout that didn't take you out of it and wasn't so Marvel stand up. Because that's one of my issues with Marvel. And it kind of made, honestly, the Avengers movies before Endgame were probably my weakest favorite ones in Marvel, right? Mainly because I just felt like every time all the characters were together, even though there was high stakes, everyone had time to make a joke. And I'm just like, it's funny in some regards, and in other regards, it's like, okay, but seriously, guys, you wouldn't be making a joke at this point. And I just felt like that's what Whedon brought over here. And I'm like, you definitely aren't making jokes during these DC ones. You just can't, that's not a thing, Geoff RN is saying Geoff Johns is an idiot. No comment. I do like some of the stuff he's done, but one could argue people thought he was going to be the Kevin Feige for DC. Kevin Feige being the head and president of Marvel Studios, and I think there's been it's been hit or miss with that. Ray is saying, I like the tone of Justice League tone because I feel like it can easily bridge to Titans, but there's no way Stargirl could. Yeah, because Stargirl is more of the cutesy kind of thing. All right, y'all. So let's talk about some of the major differences and whether or not these major differences helped or hindered Justice League 2021. And let us know in the chat if I don't name some of the major differences. Let me know if I missed anything and your thoughts on whether or not these differences helped or hurt this version. Because so far I feel like most of us are agreeing that this was the better film. But there were some changes that there's one change in particular that I was like, I could have done without that, and I'll get to that. But I think overall, there were some interesting changes. One of the main ones was, as we were just hinting towards, we got a lot more depth with Cyborg, Flash, and Aquaman. I just felt like we got way more Aquaman in this one than I remember in the 2017 version. I don't even think he talked that much in the 2017 version.
Look, this was crazy. I remember when they first was doing this, and you had told me the chick was playing the love interest of Flash, the girl who had got the role.
Iris West, yeah.
And I would see her, but then when I seen the movie, I didn't see her. I was like,
I remember because I
forgot she was in that movie till I seen this version.
Yes.
Oh, there she go.
Yeah, you're talking. Damon's referring to Iris West because it was a whole thing. Because we have an Iris West, a wonderful Iris West, played by Candace Payton on the CW network, and she's African American because they switched. They changed her, and a lot of people have been campaigning for Iris West to stay Black in the cinematic universe too. And so a lot of people thought it was a plus. Then we got the actress who eventually played her. And then we didn't see her at all. Mm-hmm. And it was like, and then to see this scene that was so great with the Flash, him going for a job, doing a dog walker type thing, seeing her, we already saw their connection. They instantly already had an attraction to each other and stuff. And it was such a significant thing that he saved her, and that's their connection and everything. And it was just completely just taken out. And it was like, but why? Why take that out?
Exactly. Wow. Like, wow.
Yeah. So, and then, I mean, we had the thing with Cyborg. Cyborg, Snyder has pointed out, was the heart of the show, was the heart of Justice League for him. And you really saw that come through in this one. And when I realized that we got so much more of his backstory, we saw his parents, we saw both of them. We saw both of his parents in significant detail. We saw him help that single mother, give her money in her account. We saw his struggle. We saw where he was coming at of who he was. And once again, we didn't just completely gutted that from the movie. Go ahead.
One thing that the Whedon guy did that I think that what's the name didn't in this one. I guess Whedon might have put that part in there because it wasn't in this cut. The part where he almost feels the box tapping into his dark side that he know he had in him. They, in the new one they didn't explore that or go into that, but in the Whedon one they did, where he actually had to fight the box from turning him dark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in that aspect of showing like him, Whedon kind of helped a little bit. It wasn't as much as this guy did, but if he threw that in, it'd have been super.
Yeah. Well, they do hint at it a little bit, saying that this box can turn you, and it's kind of significant if you try to meld with it, that it can have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where you take the good and the bad, right? Yeah, we lost that part, but then we got so much more with Cyborg.
Whole lot.
One of the main things, and Ray Fisher actually points out why he didn't want to use it was, Whedon had put in Cyborg's, his catchphrase of "booyah." Cyborg says, Cyborg does say "booyah" when he first came out, and also in the Teen Titans one, he had to think of "booyah." But we all know that when that was first created, that was probably the equivalent of saying dynamite. You know what I mean? We all know what that looks like.
Dang.
Exactly. The black character having the "booyah." Dynamite. It's bad, Albert. You know what I mean?
That remind me of was that another teen movie and a black guy? He just said, "I'm just here to say stuff like dang," and
exactly. And so you had this Michael staying very quiet during this moment.
I'm just trying to keep my career. I agree with everything.
I always thought that was funny. I didn't mind the "booyah" in the Whedon version, but it was just like, given how much he didn't have, how much Whedon had gutted from his character, to know how much Whedon gutted from his character, and then on top of that to add "booyah," I just think it's insult to injury. You could have, like, let's say Snyder had kept the "booyah," right, or put the "booyah" in there, because Whedon was the one that put the "booyah" in there. Let's say Snyder had kept the "booyah," but I would have been okay with that because he also gave him a whole bunch of backstory to flesh out his character. Then Whedon, though, takes off so much backstory, but like, I'm gonna give you "booyah," and it's like, whoa. The layers of the insult. And Ray Fisher was actually against it. He didn't want to say "booyah." He had pointed out in interviews where he felt it was insulting for Cyborg to say "booyah" as a serious type of character. And especially, I mean, now that we see what he thought he was doing, it makes sense. But, some people got on Ray Fisher for that, the one who plays Cyborg, because there's like, well, that is what Cyborg says. But it's like, okay, but in 2021, or 2017 at the time, having the black character be the one with the catchphrase. Like, after you already gutted most of his plot line, you reduce him to "booyah." You know what I'm saying? Like, I just thought that was funny. I mean, I like Booyah. But but you gotta balance Booyah out with plot. You gotta balance Booyah out with character. You don't just gut his thing and be like, Booyah. See, you got your part there. There's Cyborg, guys. Like,
yeah.
what?
I learned a lot about who Cyborg was in this movie. Like, yeah, you're exactly right. He was barely in the first one. And I just remember from that, it was a science fair project gone wrong. And then his mom blew up.
No, are you think? Well, wasn't it? Didn't they have it? So in the Whedon cut, it was still a
car accident.
A car accident.
I think you might
be thinking of the other, because there's another Cyborg in the DC universe, but it's a TV universe when it comes to y'all. I'm forgetting it. I used to do a weekly recap of it.
Well, I apologize.
Y'all know who I'm talking about.
Sorry for getting the movie wrong.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
But that was a thing where he had blew up in a lab with his mother at the time. That was a thing.
This movie was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, Cyborg was awesome.
Yeah. Ray is saying problematic, shaking my head. Booyah. Red Eyes is also laughing. Ray said, I am more of a fan of Cyborg from this movie. This is better than Teen Titans and Doom. But that's who it was. Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol was where he hit something when he was in the lab with his mother. And they blew up. Teen Titans and Doom Patrol in this character, to me, not Young Justice, but close. Yeah. And Red Eye saying he even cut out the Asian character. Yes, we got to talk about that. That's one of the things on the list. Ryan Choi, who is supposed to be Adam. And the thing is, well, I'll get to that in a second, because Zack Snyder had plans for Atom. For Ryan Choi. Ryan Choi being the character, the other scientist that was working with Cyborg's father, Silas, in the thing.
He was like, your hands now. Yeah.
So, okay, so we had a little bit more Cyborg, Flash, and Aquaman. The other thing, Darkseid. Hello, we got Darkseid. Darkseid was not in there before, and we got him. And some people I've seen on the internet, some people were kind of against Darkseid being added to it. They were fine with Steppenwolf kind of changing, but they were like, we didn't, adding Darkseid to it. I think it was more so the issue because in the Whedon one, you had it so Darkseid was, when Whedon one, it was Steppenwolf that was also there for the first battle that made that whole thing with the boxes getting taken. What Snyder had in mind was that Darkseid was the one that actually came there initially and was defeated and left it there, and that's where Anti-Life also was. And I think some people are like, well, it's a plot hole. Why wouldn't Darkseid remember that's where Anti-Life was? Why wouldn't he remember that's where Anti-Life was on Earth where he was? I mean, my explanation was just that it had been millions of years probably, or thousands of years. You're going to forget which planet you lost to sometimes or whatever. But some people felt like Darkseid was an unnecessary addition. I have seen that. What are y'all thoughts on Darkseid?
I thought Darkseid was perfect because it allowed Steppenwolf to be a well-rounded character.
Because he had a plot line of trying to get back in Darkseid's good graces, right?
Yeah, and it made him rich. And it was really good, as opposed to if Steppenwolf was the main villain and we didn't know who he was working for, I wouldn't have felt the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he added more depth to it. I think by having Darkseid, you add more depth to the story.
He did.
You make it a bigger scale. You don't just have it some rando evil guy who came here thousands of years, decided he wanted to get his boxes back, randomly. I mean, I think by adding Darkseid, you have it so here's a character who adds to the idea that there's bigger forces, that Earth is just a small puzzle piece to the bigger forces of the wider galaxy, the universe. And I think that opened up a wider scope for the thing. I didn't think Darkseid was I think he also added to the potential of the sequel, right? Because the Steppenwolf gets in, and then you just, had Darkseid at the end just kind of watching it or something. You don't get the full scope of the danger. I mean, Steppenwolf was and we'll talk about the changes with Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf was dangerous in this one, way more dangerous villain than the 2017 version. And to think, if you have this really dangerous character and on top of everything else, he's actually scared of this guy too. you can only imagine what this guy is about. I mean, it adds the stakes. I'm like, yo, if Steppenwolf is afraid of this dude's got to be really bad. You know, that was my thought process on that. So I liked the addition, but some people felt like it was conflated that he was added to it. Oren is saying there are haters out who don't like good filmmaker like Snyder. Geoff Johns is jealous of Zack Snyder's style of storytelling. Ray is saying, I love Darkseid. I hate the design, but adding Darkseid so soon is kind of crazy. He is the villain of DC. I think there should have been a build up. And I think that's what some people were thinking. And, you know, once again, not to necessarily compare it to Marvel, some people initially online and still online are comparing the Thanos introduction to the Darkseid introduction. For those of you who don't watch Marvel, you know, Thanos was the big bad of the Avengers and things like that. And whatever, things like that. And so people are like, oh my, and I did see someone say, oh my gosh, there wasn't a buildup like they did with Thanos. Thanos, they laid the groundwork for years. And then all of a sudden with Darkseid, he's introduced in one movie. How does that work? And I kind of push back on that. Like I saw some others do, because with Thanos, I don't really think it was built up over years. He made 2 appearances before he appeared in Avengers. And one of them wasn't even by the same actor. You know, it wasn't by Josh Brolin, who eventually played him. It was a black guy, actually, that played the original Thanos, and then they replaced him. But he shows up, I think, at the very end, I think, of Guardians of the Galaxy, where he looks at the camera. That's it. Yeah. And then I think he appears in the second one when someone comes to him at the end, one of the second movies, and then he shows up. So what buildup are we talking about here? You know what I mean?
Very
2 appearances. I mean, I got more of Darkseid's menacing nature in this one epic experience than I did for Thanos, honestly. And if you read the Marvel comics for Thanos, his reasoning for wanting to end all life and planet, they actually made it better for the cinematic universe than it was in the comics, because in the comics he was just in love with Lady Death, and he wanted to impress her or something. That was his reasoning in the Marvel comics. Darkseid didn't need a revamp of why he wanted to do things. So I mean, maybe that's my bias. I just think Darkseid is a way more menacing character. On both the comic level and the cinematic level, there's more to play with there. But it's interesting that people thought that Darkseid was added too quickly for that. Would y'all have preferred like he makes some type of last minute appearance in Man of Steel or what? Like, what do y'all think it was too early?
No, I think
it's perfect.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, no, I think it's perfect, because if your movie is good and your story is good and you know how to tell your story, there shouldn't be a right or a wrong moment to introduce the main bad guy of the character if you feel it's right. And I thought this was great, because now we know a lot of him, and it's only one movie. That gives us many more movies to learn even more about Darkseid.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Red Eye's saying Darkseid didn't need to engage, but his presence was needed. I think to like Michael was saying, to open up the level of who Steppenwolf was, right? Mm-hmm. Ray is saying, I just think having Darkseid in this movie is like having the Ancient One in the first in Buffy season 1. Steppenwolf as a new god is big enough. Yeah, in a way, but then Steppenwolf dies, and I see what you're saying, though. I see it's kind of like, well, you already have one big bad. Why do you need to have the other bigger bad all throughout the film?
An introductory bad. Kind of
to let you know what the stakes are.
Yeah.
To me, I thought it worked, because I'm like, well, Steppenwolf is serious. Like this, the way they redid him. And Give Me Shelter, thanks for joining us in the chat. Give Me Shelter saying, love Steppenwolf's glow up, and get exactly.
Yeah,
you know, it was like,
different.
Right? He looked completely different. I was like, is this the same character?
Uh-huh.
This guy, the voice, everything was way darker. I was just like, oh, okay. Darkseid saying, agree, Chauncey. Darkseid made Steppenwolf more important because he was doing Darkseid's bidding. Give me shelter saying maybe Snyder is trying to introduce Darkseid like Thanos. Well, you just said it. Yeah, we had just talked about. I actually think this was a better introduction than we got of Thanos because we got more of who he was. We got the Grammy. I forget the main name. His mom, or whatever. She's very brief in there, but Granny is pretty dark as well.
Yeah.
Ray is saying with MCU, he was the hands moving all the pieces in the films, not just his cameos, but his presence and the drives was in all the films. Okay, I can see that. That's a good counter that Thanos was the one kind of controlling things in the background.
He was the reason for the first invasion. They didn't know that at the time, but the guy who was doing the invasion, he was doing it for Thanos, trying to get the Tesseract for him.
Yeah. So I get that. The idea was that Thanos was the whole point of all of this. You did kind of like what Damon wanted Mephisto to be that never actualized in WandaVision.
No doubt. I gotta come back because you finally got your multiverse. It's DC, not Marvel, but you finally got it.
Speaking of that.
Go ahead, Michael.
I thought it was interesting from an outside perspective that in the very beginning of the Justice League movie, I think there's like a dome. And I'm like, oh my God, WandaVision. And I know I just made everybody angry.
Over the town.
Not the same. And I even told you that when you said it. I was like, that's not the same thing. Okay. My 2 cents of nonsense. Lindsay, thanks for joining us. I do show business news with Lindsay every Monday, and he also watched the Snyder Cut. Thanks for joining us, Lindsay. He says, seeing Darkseid in action, even if only for a second, made his intro better than Thanos. Agreed. Although I think Lindsay had some issues with a few things with Darkseid, but we'll probably get into that on Monday at show business news when Lindsay talks about that. But yeah, it's I get it. It's kind of your preference, right? I like both of their introductions for the most part. I just thought Darkseid was in it a lot more than I thought he was going to be, but I didn't think that was a negative. I guess that was my thing with it. Oren is saying DC Universe is more confusing than actual advanced quantum physics. Too much multiverse-ish being put over telling a good story. It's easy to lose interest. Well, they always restart. That's what they do in the comic books all the time.
Oren, you're talking to a fan of multiverses up here.
Whatever. Red Eyes is saying Darkseid was because we got young Darkseid kicking butt and old Darkseid letting his minions do the work. That's true. Younger Darkseid appeared in the beginning of the movie, which was an epic battle, y'all. That was, oh my gosh. The action in this movie was amazing. Yeah. Such great action going on. So, Dallas Jones, thanks for joining us, Dallas Jones. Seeing Darkseid's Omega Beam in live action was super cool. Agreed. There was just so much stuff that was actualized. And I think for people who are DC comic fans and whatnot, it's going to be like, whoa, this is what I've always dreamed of seeing. You know what I mean? It was like actualization of stuff that we wanted to know about. Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks for dropping by. Ray is saying, I love Thanos more in the reveal. Ray is also, I want to see a show and performance, not just throw everything off and tada, entice me. Okay. I mean, say that to Darkseid's face.
Yeah.
Say his face. No, I'm kidding.
Look, another thing I like about we still on Darkseid, right? Or can we move on?
Yeah, you can add something else. We're talking about the differences. That's
fine. Another thing I liked was I love when it's small when they show how small characters are sometimes more powerful or just as powerful as the main characters.
Yes.
Cause the Flash he saved the day.
He did.
You know what I mean? Without him,
he literally turned back time.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great power to have.
But then, I think people sleep on the Flash. Maybe it's just me because I'm actually a fan of the Flash as well. And people kind of sleep on just how, agreed. People kind of sleep on just how powerful he is. Speed Force, all of that is just, it kind of, I mean, there's a flashpoint for a reason. It kind of controls a lot of stuff, and he's the wielder of that. He's one of the ones who wields that, and it kind of gets slept on for some of the other legacy characters. But Flash is definitely one that deserves a little bit more respect on his name, if you ask me.
That's a good thing DC doing. They instead, I mean, of course you're gonna puff up Batman, Superman, and maybe Wonder Woman, but the fact that they're showing this big thing on Flash and Aquaman and them like that, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
I agree. And it shelves in the idea that here's this bigger universe. I think that's what Snyder was doing. Because like I said, I was a little hesitant about getting a in 2017 when it happened. I was hesitant that they did a Justice League so quickly. I'm like, why are they trying to rush and do an Avengers type movie so quickly? And y'all only got 2 characters y'all introduced. We only got Batman and Superman. Let's get some other solos first. But then seeing as how this came out, I was like, I can see if it had been this, I would have been okay with it. I wasn't okay with what Whedon did, because I was like, now it just feels rushed and you just added some characters as supporting characters. But with Snyder's cut, it gave all of them equal weight to the story, which can be hard to do in an ensemble cast, to give all the characters equal weight in terms of the outcome of the day. Even Superman, who wasn't even in there for like 75% of the movie, was given a lot of presence just by what his death affected, as Zack Snyder put forth. And we'll get into that. Sean Sheridan is saying, thanks for joining us in the chat, Sean. Is saying, just seen Justice League, great film, bit too long, and I don't care for the villain. He was okay, but seen better villains. Okay, Sean, with the controversial one. Well, we see you. We appreciate it. Yeah. So I just want to say one other thing about, the whole thing with the opening and how that was different. It was Darkseid that was in the opening, not Steppenwolf for the one. And what we saw was Ares. Again, the gods were there. Zeus, Hercules, and Ares from Wonder Woman actually made an appearance in there as well. So it all kind of connected. We saw a bit more of the gods than just the whole thing of like man going after stuff. So I thought that was very cool. And Ray is talking about Wonder Woman. We do have to talk about Wonder Woman. I thought the same thing. Ray is saying, can we talk about Wonder Woman? Her scene was amazing. That should have been 1984. I hate to say that I agree. I'm going to probably do a video about it soon, but I did not care for Wonder Woman 1984. I thought it could have been a lot better. And the way she was showcased in this film was just amazing. And I was just like, what is this? It's a little bit more violent, but Wonder Woman's kind of violent. She's an Amazon, she's not going to take it easy on people. And I feel like 1984, I don't know why, but they played this whole thing of, I don't want to hurt anyone. I'm like, wait a minute. Wonder Woman's a warrior. Like when she cut off Steppenwolf's head, I was like, see, that's Wonder Woman. That's one. And she kicked and they put it over there in Dark. So I'm like, that's Wonder Woman. She cuts off people's heads. That's what Wonder Woman does. She doesn't do this all, well, we can rehabilitate. No, she's an Amazon.
She's an Amazon.
They fight to the death. What are you doing? And I felt like 1984 kind of defamed her in a way. And I was just like, this is the Wonder Woman we should be getting in the films, in her solo films. I feel like Michael has something to say about that, though. What
I have a wildly unpopular opinion that I can tell. I enjoyed Wonder Woman 1984 for completely different reasons. One, I thought it was very fun. I thought it was hokey and goofy and kind of like a throwback to like an Adam West type of Batman, but like kind of done now. And it was fun. And also in the 80s, you had sequels that were way goofier than their original counterpart. So by making a sequel in the 80s, it almost felt meta to that extent. And I appreciated Wonder Woman as its own thing. And I'm wondering, I did not mean to say that, holy shit, I'm sorry. But can we have Snyderverse, but have offshoots of fun superhero projects? Or do they all have to be connected together?
Well, was 84 even connected to anything that's going on with this?
No, so I mean, why is that
that's
a bad
why
thing?
it took place in 1984. So when they be connected,
no, it is
a movie.
Yeah, but I like that.
Be connected.
Yeah, I like one connected thing, and I like weird, bizarro offshoots.
Bizarro, maybe.
I mean, that's fun. Like, I had fun in that movie. Like, everybody was ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
I liked it. I liked the outfit too.
The gold thing. She's done it before. Yeah.
I I would have broke. I
don't know.
It's not like
break that out for.
I'm not saying
it
was
wasn't connected. They made that before they did 1984. That's why we didn't get that gold suit.
I'm not saying they're connected, and I like Snyder Cut is like a damn good comic masterpiece. But I had fun watching both, I guess.
I like the fact they took the kiddiness out of it by making Superman and the Flash race.
Yeah, right? Oh God. Yeah.
We definitely put that in. That was a
oh yeah, we didn't totally put that in. That's actually, I think that's
why don't y'all race?
That's in a cartoon as well. They have them racing in a cartoon. So he told me to. I feel like we didn't just like did a crash course in watching some cartoons of Marvel when he did this in terms of understanding people's plot, and not even the good darker animated movies that they have with DC. But okay, Lindsay's also agreeing with you. Oh, thank God. I sometimes think I'm the only one who likes 1984. I didn't dislike 1984.
It's
I just
fun.
thought the first one was the better movie.
Oh, it's
and
good.
I feel like this Snyder Cut, I feel like he really got who Wonder Woman is, a little bit sassy, a little bit kind of darker, kind of, all about the kids, but also like, I'm going to kill you if I have to. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I felt like with Patty Jenkins, who, directed the Wonder Woman's, I feel like she made it so she was so lovesick that it just stood in the way of everything. And I'm like, how is Wonder Woman like 5,000 years old and one dude, although, yeah, love of her life, sure, I guess, but it's like she really on some I'm emo for the next 80 some odd years. And I just felt like it weighed on her character so much. And I just love the Snyder Cut where she finally kind of, in a way, full circle comes out of it. And it's like, I'm going to be a superhero again. I'm going to kick butt. And I love that for her character. And we also, when we talk about this, we also have to talk about that one of the issues that Gal Gadot allegedly had with Whedon on set was that she felt like she was being more objectified. I think, and I think that shows too. One of the things we also have to point out is that in Whedon's cut, we didn't see any Black Amazons, and in Snyder Cut, they were all up in there. We saw all types of Amazons of color because it's Amazons. Why wouldn't there be a difference?
They did. I do remember seeing the one from Krypton. I remember seeing her. They showed her one time in that Josh Whedon one because I remember seeing her.
Yeah.
Once I didn't see her go tell the queen that she didn't have that part one in there.
She didn't get none of those words.
But I do remember seeing her face. I do remember seeing her face in there.
Yeah,
I do remember seeing that.
Yeah, so I felt like one of the things, like, you have a butt shot of her in the Whedon version when Ben Affleck.
That wasn't a butt shot. It wasn't a butt shot.
It was on her face. For whatever reason, he felt like he needed to zone in on her face and Batman coming down. And it was like, what is that? The other one was when, for whatever reason, he had the Flash fall on her boobs in that one.
Yeah.
Which was totally silly, to the point where Gal Gadot did not want to film that scene, and it was a body double.
Wow.
She didn't want to film it. She didn't want to film that scene. It was a body double. Instead, what Snyder did was when Steppenwolf says, "This one's mine," Wonder Woman gives this line too. She gives the line, "I belong to no one." And I was like, see, now there's a difference. You can have a sexy woman, badass, without being so overtly objectifying of her, where you take away her agency. She can still be sexy. She can still have her skirt and stuff. You don't have to make these silly jokes. And it was also recycled because word is that allegedly Whedon, when he was going over the script, kept confusing Diana with Natasha from Marvel. And he kept calling her Natasha when talking about her character and things. Wow. So he couldn't make a distinction between the two characters. But they're the thing is,
alike, though. I don't.
No, they're women, Damon. And
that's the connection.
They were the woman of the group, right? And what he did, he cut and pasted the scene of Flash falling on Wonder Woman's boobs. He did the same thing in Marvel when Hulk, where Bruce Banner falls on Natasha's breast. He did the same scene, y'all.
That's also like a recycled gag from James Bond. That's recycled from a lot of places, right?
From like a toy.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, it's from a lot of places.
Yeah. Ray is saying Diana's inner strength is her greatest asset and worthy of being in the big three. And Lovesick, her just so not feminist icon to me. Yeah, I agree. I think as a feminist icon, she can be in love, but to the point where it just kind of weighs on her character, where she can't do anything else. It just wasn't realistic to me, as the GIF says online. Sean was saying this would have worked better as a miniseries. I think better to watch. And it's true. I think, but that was the beauty of having it on HBO Max, right? That people could pause. There was 6 parts, you know?
Yeah. I damn sure paused mine. I was not sitting there for a whole 4 hours.
I tried. I think I left it at 2 hours. I did the first half and then I did the second half because it was already like 4 in the morning.
I couldn't watch that. I couldn't have watched that in the movies. I'm not gonna lie, because I would have to get up, and I don't like getting up during movies because I paid my money. I got to see the whole thing.
But okay, what did you do for Lord of the Rings: Return of the King? That was a 4-hour movie.
I didn't watch it in the movies.
Okay. Michael and I went to go see the Irishman. The Irishman was 3.5 hours, and we sat through the whole thing. And also, Avengers Endgame was 3.5 hours.
Well, I watched all those on Fire Stick.
Okay. Well, don't tell people how you get your views. You know, don't tell us.
Allegedly.
I allegedly watched that on Fire Stick.
I mean, I went to the theater. Don't tell on yourself, Damon. Dallas Jones is saying, I thought this Cut's version of Steppenwolf was really intimidating. He looked less human, but had more depth. I agree. I definitely agree. I think that's another. I wish
they would have played a backstory on him. I want to know how did he
piss off?
How did he betray Darkseid? Mm-hmm. He said you betrayed him. I want to know how he betrayed him.
I think it was kind of showed that he got too powerful and was kind of trying to do his own thing, but he ended up getting thwarted. I feel like that was kind of what ended up happening. Yeah, they didn't show it. Yeah, that probably would have been a whole nother hour, Damon. It might have been a whole nother hour.
You already given 4. What's 30 more minutes? I'd love to see it.
Of Steppenwolf's backstory.
There's going to be a 4th box, and they have to show how they obtained the 4th box the exact same way they obtained the other 3.
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about.
Look, one thing. Yeah. What I also liked about that was how in the first one, we all know that Soup is Soup. When he came in, it's like, all right, it's all over. It's over. But in this one, even though he was there, it kind of didn't make a difference without Flash being there.
In a way, yeah, it didn't up to that. But no, because had Superman not been there, it would have ended a lot sooner. I feel like Steppenwolf would have been able to get to them a lot sooner. So I feel like he was needed. I mean, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but in the Whedon version, did he even show up to the final fight with Steppenwolf? I don't even think he showed up. I think he was over in Kansas.
No, he showed up at the fight.
He did?
He the one that scared, that had Steppenwolf.
Oh, that had the fear.
All the bugs.
Okay, yeah. Oh, we got to talk about that too. And that's how forgettable it was to me. Because, I mean, I can't remember a lot of parts of that movie. I'm just like, because it was all over the place.
Yeah, it was like once he showed up, it was over.
But let's look at this Steppenwolf, y'all. Now, this is an intimidating dude right here.
I love that the armor. When I first seen it, I said, "Wow!" And it's like armor. Yeah. It's like the armor was alive.
Yeah,
it would move. And the armor would move.
Yeah, it moved and stuff, kind of similar to Wonder Woman's in 1984, like the things and stuff coming on, which would have been cool had she won that.
Yeah.
But they forgot about it, or it didn't happen. This version. But Steppenwolf, I mean, he was just so much more intimidating. He was just, man, it wasn't even like he was a dark character who didn't make jokes. He said things that could be considered kind of funny a little bit, but it was more so like he was really working for getting these boxes. He didn't easily obtain them. He was a fallen villain because he was out of favor with Darkseid and trying. So he had his own plot line in this. And I feel like in the Whedon version, he was a lot more cartoonish. I felt like, did y'all feel that? I felt like in the Whedon version, he was a lot more of a cartoonish character.
Everything in that last movie was a cartoon.
It was very much cartoon-ish, and I didn't take it as seriously because the CGI was just horrible. For a movie that cost millions of dollars, he just looked so CGI.
Oh, that and besides Steppenwolf,
the little stuff he added cost $1 million too, or just
it cost a couple million. I think it cost like 60 million.
Oh, I'm figuring like he was the stuff that cost $1 million probably was the stuff he did that he cut out. He probably cut all the money, all the good money parts out.
Maybe. I kind of wonder. I feel like I do, and let us know in the chat, y'all, if you know this or not. Was it Snyder who originally designed Steppenwolf, or was that Whedon? I'm not sure. I know Snyder upgraded him, but I wonder if Snyder also. I just feel like Snyder wouldn't have made that.
If he looked at like that at the beginning and he switched them back to that regular armor guy, then he might have been trying to sabotage that movie. I don't know.
Right? How do you go from
how you downgrade something? Like how was that?
No, it was Oop, no, wrong one. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna remove that. I'm just looking. That's my notes. I was trying to give y'all a look at what this this Steppenwolf looks like.
You could get the old one up there too.
Yeah, I'm about to get the old one up there. That's what I wanted to compare because I just showed y'all the Steppenwolf, right? Yeah. That we got, which was way better. But then there he is. This is who we got. Basically, some CGI dude. He was way thinner than Thanos. Some CGI dude with some armor.
Yeah, no.
He was about the same height as everybody, too. That was another difference in this one. This Steppenwolf towered over people. He was huge, in this movie. And yeah, I thought that was really good. Oren is pointing out that Batman vs Superman Extended is like 3 hours. Sean is saying, if a film is good, I don't mind watching 3-hour film in cinema. Saw The Irishman in cinema. Yeah, it was great. And it was
painful.
It was painful. Yeah. For 3.5 hours. Give Me Shelter is saying, did anyone catch the Iris introduction at the pet store? It should have been executed better, but I hope the Flash gets his own film with Iris. Yeah. Yes. She was also in it. Yeah, we were talking about that a little earlier. She was added back into it because if you think about it, she wasn't even in there in the Whedon version, and she was been added back into it, and now she's also coming back for the Flash film whenever the Flash film comes out because it's been pushed back and all that stuff. But she is back. We did lose the father that we saw in the Snyder Cut. He's not returning, but we're gonna get Barry Allen's mother for the upcoming Flash.
I hope it won't push back because he had to play Trash Can Man. Because he could have kept the movie going. He's gonna do that.
For those who don't know, Ezra Miller, who plays Barry Allen, was in the Stan remake, and he played Trash Can Man, and it was horrible.
MOON, that spells garbage.
Right? Ray is saying flashpoints are so pivotal. It's like the universal reset button used to retcon things. That's true, for better or worse. I felt like Flashpoint when it first appeared was really great, and I feel like since then DC Comics have used it as a get out of jail free card. But I mean,
they use at the end. Who else got him to that timeline? So. Flash is he's a big pivotal.
He's important, and I think what we're gonna get with the Flash movie is an introduction to the multiverse. When it comes to things and how that's going. Because we actually have to talk about it because we actually have to talk about the nightmare sequence that happened here. But Red Eyes is saying, can we talk about Mara's accent? She didn't have that in 2017 or Aquaman.
Yeah. Well, this is before Aquaman, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, this was before Aquaman. Mara being Amber Heard, who was playing that, and yes, that accent was a choice. I don't know why they gave her that accent.
It was Australia, right?
It wasn't Australian. She was talking British. That sounded like a British accent.
That part to me was a little jarring, but my suspension of disbelief was already good. That it felt weird that or maybe like there's a ton of Atlanteans from all over the world, but you had Momoa, you had Willem Dafoe, and then you had Amber Heard, and they're all from the same place. What's happening here? They all sound different.
His brother didn't even show us. They didn't even show the brother in this one.
Yeah, and who's Willem Dafoe in this movie?
I'm mentioning him.
Willem Dafoe is the guy who was he in Aquaman? I feel like he was in Aquaman. Yeah, he was in Aquaman. He was his advisor.
Taught him about how to use his underwater skills.
Yeah, so that was good. That was kind of a throwback. I mean, Mara played a decent enough part, and she is in the nightmare sequence. It's being left up to the powers that be whether or not she'll, because people are calling because of the whole thing with Johnny Depp and whatnot. We won't get into that here, allegations for her not to be in the sequel, but because of stuff that came out that maybe she wasn't being as truthful about what she said about Johnny Depp. So there is that.
Then that means she a good liar. She a good actor then.
Yeah,
let it be in it. I don't
that's a whole other topic
for a great podcast.
The whole other topic. Damon seems to be okay with her staying. A lot of people would rather she not be there. My thought process is she did start off with it. It would be kind of jarring to get rid of Mara.
They just snatch people out and throw somebody new in there. That's what we got. The movie called Aquaman.
Yes, it is. Some other differences with this one is that it had a lot more blood. This was definitely a rated R film, which you don't necessarily get in Marvel. We already, if those of you, I have a video, if y'all haven't seen it yet, where I talk about the fact that Marvel is probably going to be doing a PG-13 Blade movie, right? And there's the whole question of, Marvel's kind of idea with the cinematic universe is they want to sell toys. So they have to make it PG-13 for more people to be able to see it. And DC's not like that. And I feel like what we got with the Whedon version was more of that. And not just on Whedon, but the WB studios, kind of micro managing, wanting it to be more marketable. So they cut out a lot of the blood. Steppenwolf getting his head chopped off. And, when Wonder Woman was fighting those terrorists, she hits the guy up against the head and you see the blood, a lot more bloody. I appreciated that because that let me know there's actually stakes going on.
I appreciate it too. I think nowadays, anyway, that's the one thing with DC that they got over Marvel is that they can be dark because people is loving their dark stuff.
Yeah.
People love Harlequin. That's the name, right? People love the Harlequin. Yeah. People we love the dark stuff. Batman is we ain't start liking Batman so it was the Dark Knight Batman. I mean, I watched Adam West when I was little though.
Yeah, it was a little bit cheesier. But when Michael Keaton came around and stuff like that, it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it was a bit more of a dark. As y'all know, I love me some Batman. I got my Batman shirt on right now too. So you know what I mean? We Batman. This is Batman household.
DC gonna be able to do stuff like that. Like that's why Marvel can't do stuff with people like the Punisher. People because they got to go somewhere where you could show them being them.
Yeah,
and you ain't gonna get it. You ain't gonna get a PG movie out of a character like the Punisher.
You're not.
Out of a Jessica Jones type. You ain't gonna.
He's gonna make an appearance, but he probably wouldn't get his own solo. But then again, they're doing it with Blade, and Blade is very obviously to me not a PG-13 character. But they're doing it. The only one they're allowing to be Kevin Feige is allowing to stay rated R is Deadpool at the moment. Yeah. That's the only one he's saying that he promised it would stay rated R, and it is. And he gave an interview saying that the ones that are in production right now, and Blade is one of them, he doesn't see it needing to be R rated for it to be a good film. So that gave us we
ain't gonna get no good Wolverine movies out of them. Then
I was just about to say an R-rated X-Men would be great.
Yeah, we're not gonna get that.
How can you PG Wolverine? Come on.
That's what they're going for because it's Marvel, right?
Because of Bub. It's like, where you going, Bub? Like
that's what I mean by y'all got y'all,
So that's what is so great about DC, right? Because, even with Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker, we got a dark, gritty Joker. Robert Pattinson playing the Batman, which just recently finished production. We know that's going to be rated R and bloody. I mean, Batman is like beating people to a pulp in the Robert Pattinson one. So we know, and DC does that well. Even DC animated movies did rated R well. Like the stuff that happened in those DC animated movies, like, whoa, is this a cartoon? I don't think everyone should be watching this. And it does it well because of the source material. So it made sense for this Justice League to reinstate the rated R. Let us know, y'all, in the comments. Do y'all think that the rated R was necessary, or you think it could have done without the blood? Do you think that was gratuitous? And do you think DC doesn't really need that for its films? Let us know what y'all thoughts are.
You need to cut off a head or two. Who want to keep fighting this guy if you couldn't beat him?
Yeah,
you gotta kill him.
Chance to kill him, you kill him.
I will say that if this was Marvel, he wouldn't have gotten his head cut off. He would have been thrown through the thing before he had a chance to come back, and they would have kicked him out. That's what would have happened.
That was in the first one. It won't say that he died. We just know the things start biting at him. Mm-hmm. Wherever he went to, he could have fought them off. Mm-hmm. The first one didn't say he died. He just went back. Yeah. And he wasn't scared of going back to face nobody because we never even knew it was a dark side in that first one. If the first one is canon, there ain't no dark side yet, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. And we got to talk about whether or not this is canon and the chances that it'll be made canon. Sean Sheridan saying, that's why I have only seen a handful of MCU films. I love R-rated superhero films, Dark Knight, Spider-Man, Raimi films, etc. Yeah. I can't get into
not all the Marvel ones are bad. They might not be rated R, but they ain't all bad.
That's true. I agree with you. I love Thor Ragnarok, but I loved it because it was very MCU-ish. It worked for MCU, but in terms of a serious superhero film, I can't really say any of them are like that for me. Maybe the closest I got was Black Panther because they had Killmonger straight up just killing folks in there, kind of off screen, but you knew what he was doing.
Marvel
now, that was the most real we got was the Black Panther film.
Marvel's just more polished.
It is. They sell toys.
Yeah,
that's their main thing is to sell the toys. It has to be.
Marvel to me is more Power Rangers, and like DC is more real life.
No, I don't know.
Nowadays, like
look, I ain't gonna spoil you nothing, but what I will say is when you watch the Winter Soldier thing, this Falcon, you're gonna see where real life step in at.
That's good. That's good. Because to me, Infinity War was just the Christian miniseries Left Behind, but with superheroes. And I'm like, bruh, why are we doing? When's Captain Kirk Cameron showing up? Like, this doesn't make sense. No, I'm looking forward to Winter.
You mean Endgame was just left behind?
Yeah, that's all it was. Like, dude, this is a Kirk Cameron movie. What the? Sorry.
That is funny.
But yeah, Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Dallas Jones is saying, to be fair, Thanos did get his head chopped off too. That's true. When because Thor was really mad and he came in and was like, screw this, and just chopped off his head the second time around, which made a lot of people mad because they were like, why didn't he do that the first time? Like, because we all know when Infinity Wars happened, it was kind of like Thor showed up a little too late and he had that whole side plot to go get the thing that was supposed to save the day, and he showed up.
I mean, but after he did snap and everything, all the he was able to do it. If he'd had the whole gauntlet with the rings in it, I mean the stones in it, Thor probably couldn't cut his head off there. He had to wait till that moment.
Yeah. I guess. So, it happens occasionally. Give Me Shelter is saying, Disney gets on my nerves with PG-13 films. I literally grew up watching orphan Disney characters. No one had parents. And if they did, the parents were killed in the film. Shout out to Bambi. Yes. Red Eyes is saying, DC needs to be rated R. Ray is saying, Spider-Man is campy. Laugh out loud as it comes. Not dark. Slasher in Suits is saying, thanks for joining us in the chat. Slasher in Suits is saying, Batman kills those parademons, the things that were following around Steppenwolf easily. Wonder Woman killed all of those terrorists. She definitely did. Diana's mom
told the girls you could be whatever you want to be.
Yeah, you can kill terrorists too. Red Eyes is pointing out Diana's mom. Well, she didn't murder them, but they made the sacrifice because she had to close the thing, and that was their duty to do that. But it's very true. There was a lot of death in this movie. There were high stakes in this movie.
Raw. I liked it. That was raw.
Yeah. Sean Sharon, I don't know if Raimi Spider-Man films were rated R, but I love them because they feel more down to earth and grounded than most superhero films. Very true. Death happens and things like that. I can't really get it. Like I said, I can't really get into Tom Holland's Spider-Man that much because it just seems very I feel like at some point they just got to let Peter Parker grow up. And
they ain't gonna do that.
He's going to perpetually be 16 for every time they do a reiteration of this character.
Spider-Man would always be the young, loving young man boy.
Okay, so we got a lot of different stuff going on. Dallas Jones points out DC is all gods and monsters. It's epic and heavy. The source material lends itself way better to an R rating than Marvel. That's true. It's higher stakes. I just want to pause for a second and let y'all know, like, if you haven't given a thumbs up to this channel and to this video yet, please do so. Also, if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? And lastly, if you want to, not required, because, we love talking storytelling with you. But if you want to give some love in the super chat form, or want us to focus in on more of a question, show some super chat love, and we'll be happy to do it. So the other thing was that Cyborg Dad dies. This was probably my one thing I didn't like. I understood his sacrifice, but I will say it was interesting that we didn't even PG-13 this, but in a positive way, I guess, where he did not have it so Cyborg's dad dies. Cyborg Dad, Silas, gets to live in the Whedon version. But in this one, he gets killed off, which kind of pushes Cyborg's story along with the idea of, I don't have my mom, I don't have my dad, but I have my purpose, kind of a deal. And they gave him more emotional turmoil to deal with. I thought that was interesting. I don't know if I loved it, though. I would have hoped that maybe he just got like badly wounded and then woke up as opposed to getting killed off. What do y'all think?
It didn't him dying motivated the Cyborg just even more, so I could live with it or live without it. It didn't really matter if he lived to die. I thought he died in the first one too.
No, he doesn't die in the first one. And this is the thing, we were supposed to, if we ever get it, if the studio stops messing with Ray Fisher, allegedly. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm on the press list. But like if the studio stops messing with Ray Fisher, allegedly, we were supposed to get a Cyborg solo movie. And I feel like, Snyder had his vision, right? So maybe he had some other supporting characters that were supposed to help him out anyway. But it did seem like, Cyborg's dad, Silas, plays a big part in his growth and understanding his powers and stuff like that. But I guess the tape recorder kind of did that for him in a way. That Silas left him, but I would have preferred that he got to live, because it's just a great actor first and foremost.
He's good at playing the scientist that makes I guess cyborgs, right?
Yeah, that and he was
got found the leg for the Terminator.
Right. There's a real connection there. Yeah. He's really good at what he does. He also plays really good dad parts. Strong, hard dad, because he was in Scandal. He played Kerry Washington's dad, know nothing dude. He also played Man from Mars, a very old 1970s movie where a black man comes down to Earth. Brother from Outer Space. That's what it was. He plays Brother from Outer Space. Look it up, guys. It's a very cool movie.
They had slavery in space.
It was deep. And he played that. So this actor has such a long history in the biz. So it would have been nice for him to have lived if we do get a Cyborg movie. But I wasn't against it because it made sense for the story. There had to be a significant death, and I guess Silas was one. And they also gave him the ending conversation. I don't think that was in the Whedon version. The ending thing where Silas, talks about, because he was alive, so there wouldn't be an ending monologue. But his ending monologue was so powerful for all the characters coming into your own, having a purpose. And so although they did kill Silas, I wasn't exactly happy for it. I understood because it made such a much more emotional impact, right, when it happened. And with that ending monologue carrying over for Cyborg and all the rest of the characters. So let me know in the chat, y'all. Did y'all think that Silas needed to die?
And that's like a lesson for him to go out there and he got to interact with other people now because he ain't got his father there. His mother already gone. And he wanted him to live his life to get out there and, you know. So
yeah, I agree with Damon.
Maybe that helps him do that.
Yeah. Red Eyes is saying, I didn't have a problem with it, but I didn't think he needed to sacrifice himself. Jayla, thanks for joining us in the chat. Jayla is saying, I was sad he died, but it wasn't in vain. He helped them track the last mother box. Exactly. It wasn't necessarily in vain. I would have preferred he just got really badly mangled and then he woke up.
Could he have not done that from outside the box? Could he have?
Well, the thing was, had he gotten out.
I know the guy was outside the box.
Yeah.
But I'm quite sure. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ray. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to read the chat comment from Ray saying Flash is the only real threat to stop Darkseid. He is Doctor Strange time zone redo option, but still so sad. Yeah. Were you about to say, Damon?
What?
You about to say something before?
Oh no, I was talking about the Cyborg thing. I was gonna say I still could have lived with or without the father dying.
Okay. The other issue was that we had more people of color, y'all. Oh my gosh, we didn't cut so many people of color from this movie. And it was just, and they were significant too. It wasn't just like, oh, he cut random dude walking number 10. He significantly cut down Silas's plot line, you know, just kind of made him the dad over there. Iris West, you know, she totally wasn't really featured in Flash's plot line, although she's a significant part in Flash's plot line.
He didn't let us know that when Superman mother came to talk to Lois that it wasn't Superman mother. Yeah.
Well, that scene wasn't even actually in the thing, was it?
Well, her talking to her was.
But it was at a different space. It was at because Lois and Whedon's version was still going to work.
Yeah, she still was going to work.
So she showed up there.
Yeah, she came in and spoke to her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they cut. I guess that was a new scene. He had shot for that movie.
Well, the way it went is that Snyder originally had that storyboarded, that it was supposed to be Martian Manhunter there. Whedon didn't do it. He decided not to introduce Martian Manhunter. So he just did it. So it was, I know Michael had a certain reaction to it because it was a powerful scene between Lois and the mother. And then when you find out, oh, it's Martian Manhunter.
I'm like, who are we watching now? Who is
John Jones? Ain't his name John Jones or something like that?
What we find out is that he's actually the general secretary that appeared in both Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel. And all this time he's been playing the general secretary and he's really Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea who that was.
Yeah, when it happened, you were like, who's that?
Like 2.5 hours in, we got a new guy. Okay, cool. Did I miss anything? Do I have to rewind?
Like, who is that guy?
But it worked. And the end of the movie, it was cool. And now I know who Martian Manhunter is.
Yeah, I thought that is the same character though that was on the Supergirl TV show they had.
Oh, that's the same character, and he also is played by a black man.
A black guy. Yeah.
He's the same character. He's on Supergirl, which is doing its last season this year.
Cool.
But Martian Manhunter is there, so it makes sense and he's also part of Justice League, so it made sense as more people start joining. But it was interesting because he had the storyboard there. He chose not to use it. Mm-hmm. He was like, we're not showing Martian Manhunter. Okay, one of the major characters in Justice League, but all right. Mm-hmm. And but before we move on to that, let's give a round of applause to Give Me Shelter for the $15 super chat. We are so appreciative of super chats. Thank you so much, Give Me Shelter. It is such a pleasure, to have you in the chat and to be talking to you all about these storylines that give us so much joy and so much. Give Me Shelter. Y'all a whole movie watching family. Yes, we are. Terminator references and Brother from Another Planet all under 2 minutes. You know it. We know our stuff here. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Another round of applause for giving me shelter. We appreciate you so much. So it's such appreciated. But what we were, the other thing, okay, so he cut a lot of people of color. Ryan Choi was probably done the dirtiest because Ryan Choi is actually in the comics. We find out he's Ryan Choi Atom. He's Atom, right? He's the other scientist there. And we didn't get him really at all in the Whedon version because when Silas dies, Ryan Choi takes over.
Yeah.
And he's actually kind of funny, right? When he's talking to Silas, he was like, it's the hottest thing on earth. That's why I told my prom date, but she still dumped me. You know what I mean? And what we also found out in interviews is that Snyder actually had plans for a Ryan Choi spinoff for Atom. So that didn't get to come into play because once again, Whedon just decided, we're going to get rid of this guy. I don't know what Whedon was planning in terms of the future. I don't know if he had a plan for the future of Justice League because it just seemed like he cut off so many things that were supposed to lead into other things. That was just kind of weird to me.
He couldn't have had a because why come on. I know Snyder already had Darkseid going from the beginning. That's like before we see Steppenwolf, we see Darkseid in his version. So I know Darkseid was in this movie. So he just was like, no, we take this old character out.
Right?
Get that out the way.
At some point, you just got to say, is this a coincidence? Or he just really kind of saying, because let's talk about, I'll look at some of the chat, because I got a point to make about this. Red Eyes is saying he cut Martian Manhunter, who was black, Iris, Ryan Choi, Cyborg's parents. Jayla is pointing out, I liked how the general was made to be John Jones. Yeah, it all worked. Ray is saying, so Martian Manhunter sees this whole invasion. He does absolutely nothing.
Right? Where was he at?
That's what we do. Well, he's the generous secretary.
You can't come help him fight.
But he does kind of explain to Batman. He was like, I've been watching from the sidelines, but I'm ready to show after the work was done. But he does say, okay, I'm ready to join the fight. I'll be seeing you. So I mean, that I agree with you, Ray. That is a little bit of a plot hole. It was like, so he just didn't want to help with Steppenwolf, like, he didn't want to show up. You want to show up after, or just to give Lois a pep talk, like, okay. Dallas Jones points out, we're how we didn't cut out all the black people, but found room to, that's what I was just about to say. This was what I was going to get on. Had room to add a random European family subplot in his cut, like what WTF. Yes, let's talk about this for a second.
Hold up, did they even have a dome in his version?
I don't know if they had a dome. I think he just what they did in the Whedon version is basically he just sets up in a village in Russia. He sets up in a village in Russia.
Next to Noble. Yes. That's what I'm thinking.
And what you had was he cuts out all these black people, even the Latina single mother who Cyborg helps, has a whole thing of showing Cyborg's heart of how he has all this power and he chooses to use it for good and things like that. But he had time during this really pivotal scene to somehow add the Russian family, the European family, closing up shop, and now for whatever reason now the family is deciding they need to leave when the fight's starting, but now when Steppenwolf first showed up there, and you have a whole scene where Flash has to go save this family and all this other stuff,
pick up a whole building,
all of this just to save these like 4 people who didn't know how to get out of Dodge when an evil villain first showed up to their village. I don't know, maybe they just wanted to hold on to the cottage, but it just seemed like at this moment they decided it was time.
They was under that baby for like 2 days.
Yes, right? Like, okay, it's not like, okay, maybe we should, maybe this will blow over. They suddenly decide now it's time to leave. And we have a whole sequence while real stuff is going on that Flash and them have to leave from this.
Flash and Superman,
to go save these people or whatever. And it was all Whedon. That was not in Snyder's cut at all. Whedon added that. And his reasoning was he wanted to show how real people are affected by these situations. But for whatever reason, he cut the Latino single mother who was dealing with real-ish in the world.
Real. We're not trying to be that real.
We're not trying to be that real, just sort of real, guys. What happens when super beings come over the world? We got to show how the real people are affected. It's just like, whoa.
Damn.
You literally took out all the major people of color and then inserted, like, you could have claimed, well, we didn't have enough time. But then you added this European family that wasn't even there initially. What time did you not have that you could add them and take out the others? Like, wow, dude.
I thought you were gonna be more upset at first at the part that he cut all the little girls out the Wonder Woman part.
That too.
That was not. Yeah, that was none of that dialogue in Whedon's part.
Can I be like you when I grow up? Like,
he cut all that.
No, instead what he did this thing where these boys were talking to Superman in the beginning, talking about how they wanted to start a podcast.
That awful phone shot. Like, bruh.
So he got rid of the little girls talking to Wonder Woman to insert these two boys who want to be influencers on podcasts to talk to Superman and take selfies with him. Yeah. Y'all, the layers. This is what I'm talking about when we have to say that you can't separate the creative sometimes from what they create. That's our little cat Pato making an appearance. But you can't separate that sometimes. And it just really taints it. He tainted that 2017 Justice League. He tainted it. Yeah, certain things just totally showed through that were ridiculous.
Hey, question. In his version, was Lois coming to that statue every day in Whedon's version?
I can't remember. I think she was around, but I felt like she was back at work. I feel like she was back at work. So she might have just been in the city when it was happening.
Because in his version, what's the name? Sent for her. But in this version, she was already
there.
The city. Yeah, she was already in the city.
Yeah. Jayla points out, I can't believe they cut out the struggling mother Cyborg help. What an amazing heartfelt moment. Yeah. Sean Sheridan saying Cyborg was the best of the Justice League for me. I found Flash annoying. I found him less annoying in this one. I felt like he was more annoying in Whedon's because Whedon used him as all the quips he wanted to make that he couldn't make with the other characters. So he made Flash do it. And I feel like they
downplayed him. I think they I even think they downplayed him in this version too until the end.
Until he
and he know what he was doing all the time. Like he said, he's like, I gotta break the rule. Like he already knows what he could do.
Yeah. No, it was there. I agree with you. I felt like he was given more of a balance though, this one, because you saw the issue with his father. He gets the job at the end at the, the police precinct to, help people and things like that. So you have these moments of balance. Like, he's a young guy. He's like, he knows gorilla sign language. And he also,
right?
What? Oh, yes.
The guy from the big gorilla, the smart
gorilla. Yeah. I forget his name.
Doom, part of Legion of Doom.
Legion of Doom. Who knew sign language and stuff. I forgot the name. What's his name? Y'all let us know in the chat. What's his name? I know. But I knew who you were talking about. Don't play me, man. I did the after show for the Flash for 4 years.
I'm trying to remember it.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know why it slipped my head because he's like one of his main villains too.
Yeah.
Grodd.
What's he said?
Grodd. It's Grodd, isn't it? Isn't it Grodd?
Grodd or something. It might be.
It's Grodd. I'm gonna look it up real quick because now you got me trying to call
once he said gorilla sign language, that's the first thing popped in my head.
Yes, I was right. It is Grodd. I just needed a second. It's Grodd.
That's really cool.
Grodd is the super intelligent gorilla.
Intelligent ape, gorilla.
So he knows signs. So that was a very cute thing. I totally would love to see Grodd in the Flash movie. Hey, I think that would be great.
It ain't like they didn't set it up. Why do you know sign language?
Boogsworthy. Yes, thank you, Boogsworthy. You got it. Grodd. The people. Those of you in the chat are letting us know that it is Grodd. Ray's pointing out Flash is a forensic genius. Why was he looking for a job at a pet store? Just ridiculous. I think that was just to show the conversation with his dad that he was just trying to pay.
That was his third job.
He was trying to get money to pay for law school or the criminal justice program. That was his main thing. But then he basically was like, okay, I'm going to stop getting random jobs. I'm going to just go work at the police precinct. I think that's what he was avoiding.
Yeah, because his father, like, you got 3 jobs. Like, where you finding time? He's like, when you taking all these, getting all these basically BS jobs. Like what are you doing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Victoria, thanks for joining us, chat. Victoria saying that stupid scene where he draws on people's faces was added. Which one was that? I do remember that. He did some weird thing.
Was he inside the DMV? He inside somewhere, and the guy behind him, that was in the first one, right? That was in Wheaton version,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't in this one.
The guy with the bald head, the tall guy, and then he drew on his face. Yeah, I remember that. That was the comic relief.
Exactly, and a little bit too much. But I feel like in this version, he wasn't as annoying to me. So I appreciated that. Jayla points out the CGI during the Flash moments were amazing, especially they did that so well.
When they brought their bodies, that's why I said, because remember, he brought Superman body back too.
Yeah.
Everybody had disintegrated.
Yeah. Everyone died.
Even though Superman was there, if it wasn't for Flash, the fight's over.
Mm-hmm. Although, like I said, I think Superman showing up and them was able to delay it enough because you remember Flash did fall or whatnot. And so
the first time. The first time.
So he needed to, and it was epic. Him turning back time and all that. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow. It was a whole different third act. The whole third act was just very different.
You know what that reminded me of, him going back in time? That reminded me of the very first Superman.
Oh, when he goes around the world.
Bring Lois back. That's power.
Yeah. Right. He was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to turn back time.
What?
I'm just going to turn back the earth.
Facing the stars, like, you can't do it. Like, no.
Nah. He's like, you're not going to kill Lois. Also, just an aside for the Lois character in this one, I thought she was good. You know, she kind of played depressing a bit, but that was a given since she had lost Superman. But I will say, I still contend, and this may be a controversial comment, but I think she was a miscast for Lois. I don't know. I feel like this was probably the one character that I don't think Snyder got right. Because to me, from the Lois that I loved from the movies we were just referencing, she's a spitfire. She's a bit quicker. She's a bit like a little quirkier. And I just felt like however Snyder is putting this Lois together, she's just so somber most of the time to me. And I'm like, that's not Lois. Lois is not a somber character. Yes, in this one, it made sense for her to be somber, but let's be real. She was somber in Man of Steel and B versus S. You know, she's just been somber so much. And I just feel like, I don't know if it's a miscast or just the way that Snyder is portraying her. And I feel like that's especially important if we get, and we'll talk about this, the restoration of the Snyderverse, where Lois is made to be the key of things.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
know if I want more of that character center stage.
I know. I get what they're saying. I guess they're trying to say that she's Superman hope.
Yes,
like
in a way.
Somebody else hope, but she's his hope.
Yeah,
you know
but I just would want I wanted a more dynamic Lois, and I still feel like that's a miscast, and that's just maybe I'm just a little biased because I've seen better Loises to me of embodying the way of a Lois character. I just don't think she is. I think it's probably more Snyder though, because that actress can play those kind of characters, but they chose, like, she was in what was it? The one where she played the princess. Coming out of the
Enchantment,
right? So we know she can play silly. She can play a little bit more lively. Yeah. And for whatever reason, he had her play somber in all three movies. And I'm what?
She could play a Spitfire. She was kind of a little bit. Was she in American Hustle, right?
Yeah, like she's capable of it. I don't know why Snyder made that choice. Let me know in the chat, y'all. Do y'all think that's controversial? I'm just thinking because if they restore the verse, if she's gonna be so center stage, you would just think they'd make her a little bit more dynamic.
You rather have more original Lois, dark hair, dark hair Lois.
I don't care about the hair color. I'm not one of those people necessarily who's like, oh, she has to be dark haired. But I'm just like, let her have the essence of the character. I mean, you did change her hair, at least have the same essence of the character. Don't change her hair and her personality.
Like, I'm only going off of Dawn of the Dead, but everybody who was in that mall was pretty somber, aside from comic relief, like every once in a while. So it's like all the women, I mean, the main character, Sarah Pauli's character, was pretty somber the entire time.
Yeah. And that's how he writes the women characters. Although Wonder Woman wasn't like that. She had her moments. So I don't know. It just seems a little weird. Give Me Shelter saying not a Lois and Superman fan. Yeah, I'm not. I liked Lois and Clark, that TV series back in the day. That was my jam. We had a half Asian Superman for that one with Lois and Clark. And now they're doing Superman and Lois with them having kids. I have not watched that one yet. I'm not that interested because I'm going to probably say something else controversial. I think that Superman is a miscast too. But yeah, I mean, I know people are liking it though. So
I mean, out of all the other besides Mr. Reeves, he's all right.
Yeah, I mean, they're okay. I mean, not enough where I'm like, I have to watch this. I guess that's my thing.
You can't. There'll never be another Christopher Reeves though. So there'll probably never be a guy that ever take up that mantle and be the best Superman. But that's just like people saying there'll never be a better James Bond than Sean Connery. And some people think that Roger Moore did a good job. So I
think Pierce Bronson is a great.
Look at him.
My favorite Bond.
My babe. Well, I think, as much as I like Henry Cavill as Superman, although we don't know with this whole talk of there being a black Superman coming, if he's gonna stay or not. But I liked him. I think he has the look for it. And I think if they give him a little bit more to do, he could definitely be really good. He definitely has the look for it. I think they should have cast James Marsden, although he ended up playing Jimmy. I think they should have cast James Marsden as Superman. I think he would have been a great Superman, but they didn't do it.
Yeah. You think he's tall enough?
Huh?
I think you think he's tall enough?
Okay, Tom Cruise plays in how many movies? And we know that man is short.
Tom Cruise ain't gonna play Superman though.
Victoria is saying, let's be honest, we are just waiting for Lois to die at this point because they keep talking about it. That is true. Yeah. Ray is saying, I kind of feel like Superman alone is epic in DC extended universe, but can't fulfill his key role in Justice League because he is so dark. Clark, Diana, and Bruce.
Yeah.
Ray's all saying, I'll play key moral roles as the founder. Jayla is saying, Snyder does a more subdued Lois, but she was better in Batman versus Superman than Justice League. That's true. I guess that's my thing. He does a more subdued Lois, and I'm just so used to Lois being a Spitfire. Like my favorite Lois is from the early ones. Like she was, God rest her soul, she was amazing as Lois. And that was my Lois. She had the poem. She was a little quirky. She always spelled things wrong. I thought that was the cutest. Yeah. She'd be like, it's spelled wrong. She'd be like, oh.
Yeah, that was the ultimate opposites attract.
Exactly. That's how it's supposed to be. Serious. And then her being like, what? And it's like that dynamic just isn't there for me to be having to buy into this huge epic love story between the two of them. I don't see it. But Jayla is also saying Amy Adams can act, and I don't disagree with you. She can act. Red Eyes is saying instead of Black Superman, they should have done an Icon movie. Icon is basically a Black Superman. That's true. Icon's the one that came to Earth during the time of slavery, right? That was Icon, right? That was remind me, y'all, because I think that was the Icon character. He was like a Superman character, but he came down during slave times. When they were enslaving people, and there's a whole story around that. At least that's my understanding. Or I could be completely off on that. Lois, that Lois is growing on me, Ray is saying from the other one. Dean Cain. Yes, Dean Cain. He's not my favorite Superman, but from Lois and Clark, and Terry Hatcher was a wonderful Lois. Like it just worked. I mean, if you're going to have a show that centers on these two characters, you got to bring it. Boogsworthy. Yeah, Icon was a slave back in the day, and he was like a Superman. He had Superman's powers and stuff, and he came down during slave times and he became enslaved. So that I don't know if I'd want that, because I don't want the first time we get any character that's similar to Superman, he got to play a slave first. Just because I think too often when we get Black characters on screen, we have to go through the trauma, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather. I think I have a whole, actually, for those of you who are interested, I have a whole video talking about why I think it's a bad idea to have a Black Superman. You can check that out on my channel, because I actually give a list of other Black characters that deserve their own solo movie, like Vixen and Mr. Terrific and others that aren't getting much play. So I think
I'm cool with Superman staying
Henry Cavill, right?
He's he's
There's
still
too many other black characters. We don't need a black Superman just yet. But I think that's gonna come with multiverse.
They got a black Green Lantern.
Yeah. Who also deserves his own solo. Although I do think HBO Max is giving a solo TV series, but I'm not sure they're doing it for him. They might be doing more of a Ryan Reynolds kind of Green Lantern. So,
or maybe they're doing just the group of them.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be like the Lantern Corps. Like, you know, that's probably how they do it. Instead of just doing him, the whole group of, because you know it's a lantern for every lantern planet of the galaxy.
That was another thing. We saw a Green Lantern in the beginning too.
Well, a Green Lantern.
Yeah. There are a whole army of them. You know?
Yeah. I mean, they like the Marines of space.
Yeah, what I heard through the grapevine was that Ryan Reynolds was actually supposed to make a cameo as Green Lantern in this, but it didn't pan out. But he did joke. He actually rewatched Green Lantern the day before Justice League. He did a rewatch because, you know, the joke, Ryan Reynolds, who played that Green Lantern in Green Lantern movie, absolutely hated the film, which is why he ended up doing Deadpool, because he felt like it was too cookie cutter. And that film, you know, Green Lantern's not that great. But he actually said after he finished it, he was like, it was better than he remembered. You know, but he was actually supposed to. The rumor was he was actually supposed to make an appearance in this one, maybe in the nightmare sequence. And I agree, Bugsworthy. Give me the Jon Stewart movie. Yes, Jon Stewart, Green Lantern. I think it'd be a great way to have representation, but not necessarily a repeat of a legacy character that's already there. But yeah, let us know in the comment. Actually, for y'all, go check out that video after this one to give your comments on that, because I actually, you know, give a little bit of a longer reasoning why I don't think we need a black Superman just yet. Ray is pointing out, yeah, not a slave, not with Chadwick gone, not in the age of Wakanda. Let's not do.
That's what it would seem like. It would seem like it would look like they watched the success of Black Panther and said, okay, let's make Superman black. Like, no.
Well, they are doing a black Superman movie. It's happening. J.J. Abrams is producing it. The question is, who's going to play it? And is it going to be a multiverse Superman, or it's going to be one of these one-offs that we're getting, like with Robert Pattinson and stuff?
Wow.
So that's happening. The question is, I don't think it should be happening, but it's happening. So we had a few things. The music.
God forbid we have a rich black guy playing Batman. No rich black. You could do it, but you could. No, I'm just joking.
Also, what we had was the black Superman suit, not a black Superman, but the Superman suit was black in this one versus the colored one that they had. I thought that was a better thing because that fit more with what Superman looks like after Death of Superman. He comes back in a black suit, you know, so that made more sense. Once again, I don't think
I like that they showed all the suits when he was like when he went through the shit, and all the suits was just as he would walk by, all the suits would come out. Mm-hmm. Remember that part when they was pushing his body in, and when he walked in on his own.
Yeah.
All the suits would pop up. I was like, that's fresh right there.
Yeah. So there was a bit more, you know, context and stuff. Okay, so we had all that. So let's get to the nightmare scene. There was an epilogue, and we had a nightmare scene. And that's what people are calling it, the nightmare scene. And it kind of all connects, right? Because what we had, I think it was in Batman versus Superman, where Bruce is sitting down and there's a thing with Flash coming out, you know, from maybe some distant world saying Lois Lane is the key, Batman, Bruce, or whatever like that. And that happened, right? And then there's a reference to that somewhere in here in Justice League where Bruce brings it up. And then you have it. So, you know, Wonder Woman's walking up to Bruce and she's like, yeah, Lois is the key. He was like, but I think it's for something else. And then we get the nightmare sequence, right? Which has it so that, because we also saw Cyborg somehow had a premonition of when he was connected to Superman's ship and also connecting to the box of a future where Darkseid comes to Earth and Wonder Woman's dead. Superman's in black and he's killing people. Things don't look good. You know, a lot of people
first. He was mourning. You see, he was down on his knees when Darkseid walked up to him, touches his shoulder.
Yeah.
So he probably was mourning over Lois's death.
Lane. Yeah. Lois Lane. So we saw that. And then at the end, we get another scene that's connected to it of Batman's dream, where we get the epic scene with Jared Leto's Joker, which was amazing. It was really good. Let us know in the chat what y'all thought of Joker being added to things. And so we got that. We had Deathstroke up in there, who we'll talk about Deathstroke in a second, how he also makes an appearance, because he makes an appearance when Lex Luthor gets out. This was added, right? This wasn't there before. I don't think this was in.
No, wasn't that in the Whedon one?
Okay, that was in the Whedon one. But another sense, he's in the nightmare scene where he's actually on their side, on Batman's side. So it kind of gave you a spoiler alert for what happens. There's
a lot of stuff that they say in there that give you spoiler for what happens.
Yeah. So Mara is there. And she's like, I want to put this trident through his heart for what he did to Aquaman. So Aquaman is dead in this version. Cyborg.
Harley's dead.
Harley's dead.
They say she told me the last thing she said
was to make sure you suffer.
Kill you slowly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that happened. Harley's dead in this one. Aquaman is dead.
The Joker really broke up, huh?
Yeah. Flash is looking, he got the 5 o'clock shadow going on. Cyborg is there, and Deathstroke is on their side. So we know a couple of things happened, and it's very interesting, I thought, because they seem to be trying to get the boxes. They need Joker because Joker helped steal one of the boxes or something like that, because he's like, you need me, da-da-da-da-da. They also reference to I was gonna say Tony Todd. They also reference to Joker having killed Robin, which was a very insider sort of thing. I felt like this nightmare sequence was a little insider. I felt like it was, and by insider, I mean it was comic jargon a little bit for people who would not know. And I kind of want to ask Michael, were you confused by this scene? Because I got it and I was excited, but I think that's because I knew what they were referencing. But for you, as someone who's not well versed in the comics necessarily, what did
First,
you think?
I want to say this has been a really good podcast I've been listening to. I've been enjoying it. Damon and Chauncey are bringing it. I thought it was interesting. I didn't know if it was like a multiverse or anything like that. It was like, okay, cool. And I actually like Jared Leto playing the Joker, and I didn't think I would. And I guess that was all because of editing and directorial vision. Up until now. I thought it was weird. Like, what happens? Is that in a multiverse, or is that in the future? Are we looking far ahead? And does any of that matter? Or is it to be if you don't do a couple
ain't that a storyline from somewhere though? I remember I was playing the this video game. I had like a trial version of it. And it was something similar to that, where it was I was Batman in another universe, and Superman was trying to kill me. This was
like others pointed out, it's kind of the injustice. It was a mixture of stuff, right?
Yeah, injustice.
It was a touch on injustice, which is awesome. The video game is awesome.
The video game, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love playing Injustice on my phone. But the injustice thing is where Superman kind of goes bad, right? One of the things is that is with this one, with the nightmare version, what happens is the idea is that Darkseid comes back to Earth. He gets the anti-life equation or whatever it is, and he infects Superman with it right after Lois Lane is killed. And so that brings him over to Darkseid's part. So he's kind of corrupted. And in Justice League, you had it so Batman and all of them were part of the resistance. And this one, I feel like that was a play on that. And so it's a play on that reference. But then within that, what you have, to answer Michael's question, it wasn't a multiverse, it was in the future. So what you had was that they were trying to get one of the boxes in this nightmare sequence so that Flash could do what he did in Batman versus Superman, right? Flash that scene in this movie showed you what happened right before Flash went to Batman versus Superman's Bruce. So what happened was they needed Joker and others to help them get the box so that Flash could then go back in time to warn Bruce about not letting Lois Lane die, because when Lois Lane dies, You know, because I think when it first happened, before we saw this sequence and it happened in Batman versus Superman, everyone just assumed he was talking about, you know, I think Superman's mother or something, because there is a scene where Superman is like there's a dream sequence where I think Superman says, you took her from me and she was my world or something. So people didn't know who he was, whether it was his mother or whether it was Lois Lane. And so this kind of lets you know kind of what it was, where it was Lois that somehow died and that they were in the future, and that the plan is to give Flash the box so that he has the power to then go back in time to warn Bruce to make it so that Lois doesn't die. And others are basically speculating that what was supposed to happen was that when Flash leaves, that leaves Batman and them left to basically face off one last time with Superman, and everyone dies but Batman when he has to face off with Superman one last time, and then Superman basically kills him. Reaches his hand through his heart and kills him, and that's why you see Superman in Cyborg's vision or whatever walking around with the scowl in his hand of Batman. But what's supposed to happen is that Flash is supposed to go back in time so that Bruce is the one that basically prevents all of that from happening.
Hey, but in this thing, Joker does say to Batman, how many multiverse, how many universes or something are you going to destroy? Yeah. You know when he said that, so I'm thinking,
and that's confusing. It is a little confusing.
Say that, he's like, how many are you going to destroy?
That did confuse me a little bit, because from my understanding, it seemed that they were in the future. But then Joker does say, well, how many of these more? But did he say multiverse, or did he say timelines? Let us know in the chat, because I don't.
He might have said timeline, but he might have said timelines.
Because I mean, if he says timeline, then I understand it a bit more. That makes more sense for the Flash, in the sense of, although there's multiverses too, because there's different Earths. But in the sense of the timeline, the idea is Joker saying how many more timelines where everyone else dies but you, kind of hinting at the one where it's like Bruce's fate is that he needs to die in order for things to get better. So it's a little confusing. And this was my one, if y'all check out my spoiler-free review for Justice League, this was the one part that I had issues with. I liked it as someone who saw references and stuff. At the same time, I thought anyone who doesn't not know what the heck is a reference point is going to be so confused by this scene, because what the heck? Like, what is even this scene? What does this mean? Red Eyes is pointing out, Batman did. I think that was the only F-bomb of the film. Batman dropped the F-bomb when Joker mentioned Jason Todd. Dallas actually points out a good part that gave me chills as well. When Dallas points out that when Joker said, you sent a boy wonder to do a man's job, that line gave me chills. That gave me chills too, but I will say it gave me chills. I knew
somebody killed them when he said
Jason Todd, right? But this was the thing. That gave me chills, and I think that gave you chills because you knew it, Damon, right? Mm-hmm. We knew what he was referencing. I don't think anyone who didn't know what he was referencing would get the impact of that, because the whole thing of killing of Jason Todd was such a significant plot line in the Batman comics, to the point where that was the first time I think they had people vote on a character's fate. And unfortunately, that was the first poll of whether Joker, they had asked fans back in the day whether Joker should follow through and should Jason Todd die. And it was kind of neck to neck, but the dying part kind of inched out. So that was when the decision was made, fun fact, to kill Jason Todd. So they left it up to the fans, and the fans chose to have Jason Todd die.
Yep. Fans don't like kids. You see what happened with
Yeah. Fans don't like what?
They don't like kids.
They don't like kids. Yeah, I don't know what that. They like, get rid of him. Yeah, we don't need Robin. But for me, I got it. And it meant something to me because I understood what it meant to Batman. But I just wonder, I felt like that was the one. Let us know in the chat, y'all, because I just felt like if people weren't well versed, they'd be little lost. Mm-hmm. Just like Michael was lost with Martian Manhunter. Kind of like, who is this guy? Like, what is this?
I got the vision more.
You might have known him by the name because I knew he was a Martian, but I always thought his name was John Jones. But they do. I have heard him been called the Martian Manhunter. So yeah.
Red Eye just points out that actually Cyborg dropped an F-bomb too on Diana when he told her F the world when she asked for help.
Oh, okay. He did.
Boogsworthy is asking, also, is Lois pregnant in this movie? I thought I saw pregnancy.
That too. It was. And she went in the bathroom and checked it at that same way when they showed it. You remember she
Did she?
Yeah.
See, that didn't make any sense to me because wasn't it supposed to be like 2 years after he died?
I don't know how long.
What was the timeline? Because I feel like in some of the descriptions for the movie, they make it seem like it's been 2 years since he died. And I'm like, she can't be pregnant for 2 years.
And they still got the tape in the barricades around that.
I don't know.
Around that damn broken statue 2 years later.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't 2 years. I just thought I heard it was 2 years. I thought I heard it was 2 years. Maybe that was the Whedon version that it was 2 years.
Maybe.
But yeah, she did have a pregnancy test, and that was significant. And although she wasn't showing at all, so the question was, how long ago did he die?
But it did look like she reached in the drawer to take something out. And only other thing that was in there after was that pregnancy test that she went through the bathroom. Yeah.
I did hear when they were walking, when Bruce was talking to Clark, walking into the house that he had saved after he bought the bank, more or less. I did hear him say congratulations to Superman. So maybe he was saying congratulations on Lois being pregnant. Yeah. Red Eyes is saying Lex was super petty for dropping Bruce's government to death. Right? He was like, "Oh, he's Bruce Wayne." I'm like, "Yo, man, Lex, like you just like you don't do that. Like you gotta let people figure it out." You know. It's funny though. It's kind of like DC are doing their own old man Logan with Batman because it's like old man Batman. In a way, because he's been fighting, because that was referenced twice in the movie that he's been fighting for Gotham for like over 20 years. He's like not new. Pattinson's Batman is going to be a little younger, while this one has been around Ben Affleck's one has been around. And he's got the gray in his hair. He's been there for a minute.
But is Pattinson Batman going to dress like the Batman from the Nightmare scene?
What I hear, I think it's similar. But what I hear is that spoilers, if you don't want to hear it, not like spoiler, but like what his emblem, Pattinson's emblem of the Batman is actually made out of the gun that killed his parents. So he's a little bit more hardcore.
Wow.
So I wouldn't put it past. Red Eye saying it seemed like weeks to me because there's no way Lois skipped out on work for 2 years. True. Ray saying, hopefully not twins. It should be Jonathan so we can have him team up with Damien. Ray is saying, what? Not showing? Lois was looking thick if you know the actress. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Yes, Boogsworthy. The thing that his emblem is made out of the gun part, that is hardcore. I thought when I heard that, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like his emblem made out of
Batman hardcore. You see when it was like you ain't never lost nobody, and the Joker like, no, he has lost like, no, I mean he lost his mama, his daddy. He lost
It was like, yo, you're telling him he hasn't lost. Mara, where have you been? Oh, that's right, underwater, because Bruce done lost to everybody. I'm pretty sure Alfred is probably dead, probably in that nightmare sequence, unfortunately. And let's give it up for Alfred. I thought he was so great in this movie too. I love the Alfred in this movie. He was fun.
I liked it.
I like their dynamic.
Yeah, I liked it as Batman. That was the best line of that movie was even the old one when he said, "What's your power again? I'm rich."
I'm rich. Yeah, that was the old one too. But I love that. I was like, that is a superpower in a capitalist society. Yeah. That is.
That's my superpower.
Right? Like I'm rich. I can basically buy everything in this world. And he's also super smart. He's kind of playing himself down. Batman is really super intelligent, you know. He's super intelligent. He was actually the one that had the contingency plan for how to get rid of every member of the Justice League if anyone ever went rogue. He does in the DC animated movie, forgot the exact title of it. He's actually the one who has come up with a way to neutralize every single member. And they were pissed at him. They were like, you have fouls on all of us. He's like, listen, I had to make sure if any of y'all go rogue that there was a way to take you out. It was like, see, smartest man in the room here.
That's why Iron Man is Marvel's version of Batman.
Nah, okay. We're not gonna open up that rule. He's rich, but he's not as contingency plan
smart, and
but he's
thinks
not as
the
dark
same way.
thinking as
He
Batman.
think the same
Batman knows
way.
how to go to those places.
Yeah, he do. He damn sure do. Batman is a whole extra dark.
Yeah. Ray is saying, why does Batman wear a trench coat? He's already wearing a suit. This is not disgrace. Why is there underneath his suit? Terrible. Yeah, I don't know.
That's because it was better to wear trench coats in the desert, I guess. Weren't they like saying it was like?
Well, Flash had on the stuff too. He had his whole suit on.
Right? His whole. Remember, he had the thing came down.
He had the metal, and he had on like some garbs, like maybe they were in the desert.
They had on something like for the sand.
Yeah, Cyborg had it on too. So maybe it was just that the sand and stuff like. And of course, who they're referring to in this is Superman. Superman is who they're referring to as he will get up and stuff. Yeah. Josh
that reminded me of Injustice. That's exactly when he was flying around. Crazy, man.
Josh, thanks for joining us in the chat. Josh is saying, I like that one exchange between Batman and Alfred and Batman versus Superman. I don't deserve you, Alfred. No, Master Wayne, you don't. Yes. And in this one, Justice League, he actually says, hi, everyone. This is Alfred. I work for him. And I thought that was cute. I was just like, that's like his dad, and it was a really nice touch. So hopefully that sticks around. I really, this movie really made me want a Ben Affleck solo Batman movie.
Yeah.
I felt that way before. I like Ben Affleck as Batman. So I wanted a solo Batman movie. In fact, I thought it was a little bit of a mistake to introduce him in Batman versus Superman and not give him his own thing beforehand. I'm like, why make it so it's already this versus when we haven't even gotten a solo Ben Affleck one? But it happened. Ray is pointing out to Damon, right? So Tony Stark is not Bruce. Let's stop it. He can be an Oliver. Yes, he can be an Arrow. He can be Oliver, like he's well off or whatever like that, I guess.
He's so much better than the Arrow.
I agree with you a little bit on that. At least DC's Arrow versus Arrow. Boogsworthy is saying Flash's suit in the future reminded me of the Dark Knight's metal Flash. Yeah. And so we had that, and just to talk a little bit about some of the future things that we had of what they had plans for. See, now this is what I mean. So y'all, I asked the question earlier, should we restore the Snyderverse? That is the question, right? Should we restore the Snyderverse? That's the new question, because there's the hashtag campaign of release the Snyder Cut has now morphed into restore the Snyderverse. And after we've watched this, do y'all think that we need to restore the Snyderverse? Because I would argue that the DC cinematic universe is a little bit in shambles right now, or more so fragmented. Like, they got some great movies, but overall there's no cohesive vision that like a Kevin Feige. And now you have Todd Garner, the producer of Mortal Kombat, talking about he's trying to do an extended universe for Mortal Kombat. Check that out. I did a video that dropped yesterday talking about the news of how we're going to probably be getting a Mortal Kombat extended cinematic universe. And I'm kind of like, if Mortal Kombat gets a cohesive cinematic universe before we get a true one in DC, I think I'm going to be mad. Although I love Mortal Kombat, I'm like, come on, y'all. So, I mean, the question is, do y'all think they need to be putting it back there? Or do we need to move on? Some people are calling for the Batman to be the one that takes over, the one who's doing Robert Pattinson's The Batman to take over and be the new Vision. But I feel like Justice League showed us there's so much potential for all these characters and the relationships that they formed. And we have the Flash movie still happening. Unless they're going to try to make it a bottled movie, which would be kind of hard to do, because we already know Michael Keaton's going to be in it. I think Ben Affleck's going to be in the Flash movie and others. So the question is, what do y'all think? What do y'all think, Michael Damien?
I think that we need to restore the Snyder universe because they're talking about they're all fragmented and going which way not. Like, if they don't do it, then what vision are they going to go off of besides the Pattinson thing? And I mean, if that's really cool, but also, like, this is one of the best superhero movies I've ever watched. And, like, it would be cool to explore that vision even more.
Yeah, exactly. I second that. I believe it is. I want to see more of this right here. So what? So Snyder, he has no dealings with WB no more, son.
I'll talk about that in a second. But before we get to that, let's give some clapping applause to Red Eyes in the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat, Red Eyes. My fellow DC fan, you know, as we battle with my brother, the Marvel fan, and have to keep him in check occasionally. It's always appreciated your presence in the chat. Red Eye says, I loved how the team all agreed bringing back Superman was a good idea. I hated that Whedon had Diana be the bad guy. Then Bruce had to be an a-hole for mentioning Steve Trevor, making Diana seem weak.
Hey, they all didn't think it was a good idea.
Well, no, Jason Momoa
Aquaman
was like, yo, what?
And Cyborg was against it at the end, but it was too late.
Yeah.
No, I didn't feel like he said no. No, he said no, not go. He said no. He did. What's the name? Didn't hear him and said go.
Yeah, and they heard
took off.
I thought he said go.
No, he said no, and then he did the other thing.
Yeah, because remember he seen what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So he said no. And what's the name? He heard go.
You make a very good point, Red Eyes, which is another difference with the Whedon version, and just shows you the issue with Whedon when it comes to women characters, how he had to make it so, of course, Wonder Woman, Diana, you know, would be for bringing Superman back because she understands the bigger issue. But Whedon makes her the person saying, no, we can't do that. And then he makes it so Batman has to bring up her ex-boyfriend to somehow, oh yes, yes, it's fine. And it's like, this woman's a warrior. She comes from a line of warriors. I think she knows strategically what needed to be done in the actual sense of the word. And it's just such a disservice to her character, you know, which, you know, it kind of blows my mind that Whedon did Buffy sometimes, because Buffy was such a strong character, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, in the first couple of years. But then in the last couple of seasons, he did do her dirty too. As a character, as a woman character, he did Buffy dirty. So I'm not too surprised, but it really just reared its ugly head when it came to this one with Wonder Woman, because it definitely wouldn't have made sense. I feel like it made more sense for Aquaman to be against it, because Aquaman was very distrusting of everyone. So his thing is, yo, you about to bring back some superhuman dude, and we don't even know if he's gonna be, you know. So it made sense for Aquaman to be against it, but for Diana, it made no sense. She's been ride or die with Batman since the whole, you know, thing started, you know, to get things going. So it didn't make much sense. And for Whedon to go out of his way to kind of change the dynamics just seemed kind of just pointless. But you know,
which one of them idea was it to try to ship them two together? That was a Snyder idea, because it
did remain. It stayed.
Yeah, that was a Snyder idea.
I could see it staying. I don't mind them. They do date. They do have a little thing in the comics, although Wonder Woman has more of a thing with Superman in the comics than Batman.
Superman got a woman.
Yeah. It depends. I will say, as much as I love Lois, I actually ship Superman and Wonder Woman a little bit more. But because I mean, come on, you see the power of that couple.
No respect for couples in any comic book.
I do. I respect Barry Allen and Iris West. I respect
Lois Lane and Superman. but
I respect certain couples. Other couples, I think it's debatable. I mean, I think Wonder Woman, all she had was Steven. And then, you know, Superman has Lois, but the two of them together is dynamite. Like, I mean, you got to see some of the ones where they're put together. It just works. And yeah, I feel like once they put them together, they kind of had. Go ahead. What'd you say, Damon?
I guess two superpowered people would work as a couple.
But not just that.
That's why it's so much better to love a normal person,
I guess. But you know, Wonder Woman and Batman work together too, because they actually have moments in their thing as well. So
Batman get all the women. I don't like that either.
You just a hater.
I don't like that either.
Yeah, but thank you again, Red Eyes. It's really appreciated. Ray is saying Diana and the Steve Trevor thing in 1984 was so un-Diana. She hijacked an innocent man's body and life. Can we talk about consent and loved ones? Yeah, that was spoiler alert. That was Go ahead.
You know what I hated about the original Justice League film?
What?
Is that for whatever reason, and they didn't do it, or maybe Snyder had money and enhanced it, but all I remember from the original one, and it's coming back to me, is the cheesy running CGI. Because everybody was doing that. And it was just a computer. It was all a green screen, but everybody's doing this. And they just kept cutting to it. And it sucked.
It was cartoony. It was very cartoony. Liliana, thanks for joining us in the chat, is saying, I gotta say, it feels like the Snyderverse feels like it had a better reception. So with that in mind, yes. I think people, it had so much more hope to it, you know?
Why can't he do all of them though?
Yeah.
Who does the Suicide Squad movies? Who does that?
Well, they actually brought, for the new one that's happening, they brought in the dude that did James Gunn, right? It's he's the one that did or who is also still doing Guardians of the Galaxy, for better or worse. I could not stand the sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought it descended into that MCU stand-up set of everything's a joke. But I guess he's doing Suicide Squad, and that cast seems super bloated. But he's also saying a lot of people are gonna die, so I guess we'll see. I'm not super excited for it, but I guess we'll see.
I like when they kill people off.
Ray is telling Damon to stop hating.
You know, there's a positive point.
What?
I believe, going back to what I brought up earlier about Dawn of the Dead, I believe James Gunn wrote Dawn of the Dead and Snyder directed it.
Okay. I mean, that's not to say James Gunn can't. I love the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I just thought the sequel was whack. But you know, sequels aren't always the best thing. So, I mean, it happens. We see 1984 wasn't that great.
No, it wasn't. I don't know why. As I look at, watching the first cut of this movie, I wouldn't think that, okay, they're actually trying to put all this together. I would have figured, that was their attempt. They done sent him back. Now it's all over until something else pop up.
Yeah.
This one, like, it makes sense. They're trying to put everybody together, so all the movies supposed to line up with this movie. Yeah. And 84 just didn't. Now I can see where Aquaman movie would have lined up with that. I didn't know it was two spears that got magic powers. I guess his mama spear do something special too.
Yeah.
He was stopping water and making waves or whatever he was doing with that regular spear. Want to go?
Yeah, it kind of makes you look at Aquaman in a whole different light. I kind of want to revisit the movie.
Be way stronger now. When what's the name do come here, he got to deal with a totally different Aquaman. He got to deal with a stronger Aquaman.
Yeah. Ray is saying, why can't Snyder be the Kevin for DCU? Yeah, why can't he be the Kevin Feige? I think he could be. Although, you know, Kevin petition. Start a petition. Well, you know, we got the Snyder Cut release, so there's power in that. Now, what I've been hearing through the grapevine is that given the reception, because, you know, money talks. When I did a video of this, if y'all want to check that out, where I talk about whether or not this Justice League version is canon. And you know, Snyder said in an interview that the only way he was able to get this totally done the way he wanted it was for him to agree with the studios that it wasn't canon. But that was the initial part. More so, they weren't gonna like micromanage him if he claimed that it wasn't canon. So that was how he was able to do it the way he really wanted to do it.
All right, so
but now the thing is, people are saying with the kind of response it's getting, WB may kind of change their mind and allow it to be the canon. So I think that's the hope of the Restore the Snyderverse campaign of, you told him it wasn't canon, but it's very clear most people like this movie better. Why wouldn't you make it canon? I also make the argument in that video, if people want to watch a longer form, of me getting a little bit more of the details of how Whedon basically tainted 2017 version with his alleged misconduct on set and just the way he gutted the series. I mean, gutted the show. So I think the smartest move would be for WB to allow this to be the canon.
After seeing this movie, 2017 one don't exist no more.
Nope. Whedon who?
Exactly.
We all just collectively don't.
When it comes to DC, we and who?
Yeah, Josh is saying
he made a couple all right Marvel movies.
Yeah.
You gotta throw that in. He made some.
It's not DC. Get out.
Josh says, I've heard people complain about Snyder making Superman too dark, but I saw someone mention that it wasn't Superman who's gone dark. The world has, and Superman has been trying to find his place.
Yeah,
that's also a good point. Red Eye saying the Snyderverse should exist on HBO Max. I think it should exist in all of DCU. I think there's an easy fix to this, even with the Robert Pattinson one, even with the Joaquin Phoenix one. All you got to do is say those people are on multiple Earths. They're in different places, and then there's the central one. It's true. Then there's the central one of what we got with Justice League, and then you can make it so they all connect. Joaquin Phoenix can even act right alongside Jared Leto. He goes to another Earth, gets him. Then you got two Jokers in one place.
Queen of the multiverse. Yeah, I hear it right here, boy. Somebody's getting the damn multiverse. If something got anything to say about it, somebody's getting the multiverse.
Well, the Flash is probably going to have a multiverse. So it's like, here's their way. This is how, I'm just letting them know, this is how you fix this. You got a whole bunch of fragmented stuff happening. This is how you fix it. Make it so people are other Earths. He's Earth 313 or some mess like that. And Joker is in the same Earth. Joaquin Phoenix is Joker in the same Earth that Robert Pattinson's in, and so on and so forth. And then you make what we got in Justice League 2021 the main Earth one. That's it. You don't got to do a whole bunch of rewriting. You just got to tweak a few things here and there because, Aquaman came out after that 2017 Whedon. But other than that, there's nothing else to fix because nothing else really came out in the main world. Suicide Squad has been its own thing anyway, and that's kind of a bottled movie. So there's nothing to really have to fix except saying, let's just go with what he did here. It's not that hard.
No, it's not.
No.
Josh is saying there is one thing that contradicts Aquaman. In the Snyder Cut, Mara mentions her parents being dead, but in Aquaman, her dad is still alive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She did say her parents were killed during the war, and what's her name took her in. His mother had took her in.
Mm-hmm. Liliana says, after all the stuff associated with Whedon, DCWB should consider making this canon. Yeah. Josh has also pointed out there's also a theory that Joaquin's Joker is the one who inspires Batman's Joker.
Cool.
His did seem like more like a 70s thing though, but Batman old like that. He's supposed to be around in them times, right?
Yeah, 20-something odd years. Yeah. And even Jared Leto for Joker, he explained that it was an evolution from his Suicide Squad Joker, which is in the same universe, I guess, to that. But they could also claim that's a different universe. Who knows? Yeah. But that is an evolution, and that he's really, what I've heard from others is that he's really passionate about playing Joker for Zack Snyder. Now, Zack Snyder is also saying he's not too keen on doing another comic book movie anytime soon, but that might be just because he's been so, burnt out from having to deal with the videos.
The reviews for this one, maybe he'll bring him back too.
Yeah, let's just say Daniel Craig was paid millions of dollars, right, to come back as 007. They can, and we see what's happening with that movie. That's in, production hell because they don't know where to let it out at. So they can pay Snyder. I think if they give him enough money, Snyder would be willing
come back, right?
To come back.
What's the name ain't gonna play? I thought they were gonna make a Idris Elba play.
They didn't tap Idris Elba for 007. They're not going to either. Unfortunately, that's their bad. Other things before we, tie it down because we're, we don't want to make this live as long as the Justice League movie. But
we the first one already.
we did. We made it longer. We are literally longer than the 2017 version. But I will
say halfway.
Yeah. So
they didn't even see the stuff we cut out.
In the Whedon's version, I'm not even here, y'all. I'm lovelorn for Michael at this point, and it's crying in a corner, probably in the Whedon version, or like the camera's not even on my face; it's just on my boobs. In the Whedon version of this,
hey, there was an ass shot,
right? Yeah, boob shot, all types of stuff. But the other thing I was gonna say is that now, like I said, I do want to restore the Snyderverse. I agree with that. Now, Snyder did come out saying he had certain plans that I didn't necessarily agree with. His original thing was that he actually wanted, in the time that Superman had died, he wanted Batman to fall in love with Lois. Wow. And that Batman and Lois Bruce and Lois were supposed to have a thing. See, no. Damon, I'm not the only one that doesn't respect certain ships. No. And that honestly, that it was going to be more of a conundrum for him to choose to bring Superman back. Because in the original script, he even explains to Alfred, he was like, I've met this woman who makes me want to forget about everything, but I also need to bring this person back who she's clearly is like more in love with. And, that's supposed to be the conundrum. And the thing was, the way it's supposed to go is that Lois is not actually pregnant with Superman's child, but with Batman's child. And that Snyder's original thought process was going to have it so Lois's son is who becomes the new Batman when Ben Affleck's Batman is killed. I know I just blew your mind, but that was Zack Snyder's thinking. So like I said, I take the good and the bad. I don't like that. I don't like that plot line at all. And I hope
drama. They don't need, I don't think they need to add more drama.
Now, the studios actually did clamp down on that. They said, they told Snyder, they were like, no, you can't. We're not doing that thing of Bruce and Lois getting together. But he was going to keep the idea that Lois's and Superman's baby eventually does become Batman, the new Batman.
So Batman going to finally have superpowers.
I guess. Which also kind of goes against Batman. Yeah. I was like, he's going to have superpowers? No, I don't want that. The whole point of Batman is that he's rich, but also that he's like the one that somehow he's able to stay afloat, even though everyone else has superpowers and he doesn't get killed in battle.
Yeah, and why would Superman's son not want to be Superman?
Yeah.
Well, maybe because Superman stays Superman.
I mean, look, Superman grow. Oh, he age. We know he age.
Yeah. So so I know I just blew a lot of y'all mind, but that was from the man himself, Snyder, who was saying that Lois's son was going to become the next Batman once he killed off Ben Affleck's Batman. So It was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You brought up Ben Affleck just to set up one long trilogy to eventually get to, huh?
I said, evidently he didn't even stick with that.
I'm glad he didn't. Yeah. Although Snyder did seem to be sticking with the idea of Lois becoming pregnant. That seems to be something that has stayed around. It's just not necessarily Bruce Wayne's baby too. But originally Snyder wanted it to be Bruce's baby that Lois was pregnant with. And then that's why one of the reasons why Superman wants to kill Batman.
I thought Batman can't have kids. He had a lot of women and he never had a baby.
He's rich. He can make things happen if he doesn't want a child. Let's be honest. Although I also agree that Batman's true love is Catwoman. I'm glad to see that they might be playing into that with Zoe Kravitz playing Catwoman in Robert Pattinson's movie.
The ships.
Some of them. Not all of them needs to stay.
You got to respect them, man.
Yeah. Bugsworth saying LOL, LOOOL. That's crazy with what I was just talking about. Liliana is saying that's a lot to unwrap. Yes, Josh was saying, I was just about to bring that up. Red Eyes says, yeah, I'm not down with that. LOL. Just laugh out loud. Just let Ben Affleck do his Batman versus Deathstroke film.
Yeah.
Liliana said, man, imagine if Clark and Lois' son decided to not take over the Superman mantle, but his best friend's mantle, right? Wouldn't that be kind of a like, really? So you don't want to follow in my footsteps?
My footsteps?
Josh is saying, sounds a bit soap opera, yes, but that was Snyder's original idea.
Superman rich. Wait, where the new Batman gonna get all this money from?
I don't know. Maybe Bruce leaves it to him when he dies.
Wow.
Somehow. If the original plan was for him to be his kid.
If give money to Superman's son and I was Nightwing, I'd be upset.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right? Nightwing be like, wait a minute. I fought by your side and I ain't getting no money. You letting this dude come in? You know, and that's another thing. Why do you need another Batman when you have a potential Nightwing? You could do a Nightwing movie, right?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to do it. But this is what Snyder had in mind, y'all. So like I said, that's why I said in the beginning of this, I was like, I do want to restore the Snyderverse, but there's some things I think we can leave on the cutting room floor. So if he does get it, let's hope he does not follow through with that plot line. And that we don't have to. I don't even want Ben Affleck's Batman to die. I don't think he needs to die. I don't think there's a point to that.
I wouldn't be upset if he's old by the time they get to that point, and he wants to sacrifice himself for a good cause.
Yeah.
And then there's somebody that could take up the mantle right after him. I wouldn't be upset.
I mean, you can do that though. You can do major deaths. I'm not saying you can't, because we saw. I'll bring up Damon's favorite character, Tony Stark.
He's not my favorite character.
But the dude you're very much, protecting.
I just don't like people bashing him. That's all.
Okay. Anyway, they killed off Tony Stark, and he was the glue, kind of for the Avengers to a certain degree, and they killed him off. So it's not unheard of that they could kill off Batman. I just think because we haven't gotten enough of Ben Affleck as Batman, I'd want at least 2 to 3 movies like we got for Tony Stark before you suddenly have him die off. So that would be my only thing.
That too, right?
He didn't get 2.
He got.
No, that doesn't count as a solo movie,
Justice, right?
What do you mean?
What is that? What's the name of that? That's called. It's actually called Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice or something.
Dawn of Justice, right? Yeah. So you got that.
That's not his solo film, though.
I know it's not a solo film, but he had billing on it.
No, we need to have a solo Batman film. Okay. We need to explore Gotham before we have this whole thing where we're putting on. We do. There's so much to deal with Gotham, and you're just gonna throw him in a.
Cyborg played for Gotham. What, Gotham College?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I guess Cyborg tells Batman, he's like, I thought you were a myth. He's like, I'm real, and so there's a connection there. And we're supposed to get a Cyborg solo movie if, the studios. I will say my one thing about this is that I hope that with it doing as well, and so many people praising Cyborg and Ray Fisher's, development and acting, that the studios kind of have to back off, because it felt like they were kind of trying to blacklist him for a little bit because he won't let up on holding people accountable for the misconduct. So I hope this kind of shields him. And if nothing else, Zack Snyder can put him in a lot of his movies, his other movies outside of WB. So fine. But I do think he has originated the Cyborg character. So why not let him do that? Yeah. But okay.
We know they'll find somebody to take up that spot.
They will, but I mean, he did it in Justice League, and it's no reason to replace him. I mean,
understand what you're saying, but for every Terrence Howard, there's a Don Cheadle. Remember that.
Okay, Mister, we shouldn't replace. Okay, Mister, we shouldn't replace Mara though.
I'm just
for every Amber Heard, there's a Charlize Theron or someone who could probably play that part way better.
You think Charlize Theron to play? It
would be awesome if they did. Miller? I want Charlize Theron in some kind of superhero.
You think she'll play Miller? Charlize Theron she wanted to be Wonder Woman. She's not.
She did, but
that's not gonna happen.
But Mara's kind of good in her own way, but I don't know, because I'm not sure who else Charlize Theron could play.
They might not be able to get a big enough actress to play that, but Amber Heard. Let's go with it.
Anyway,
let's just go with it.
Yeah. So Ray is saying Batman can't be killed off. Batman dying only happens when he passes off the mantle to Damien way in the future, like deceased comic storyline. Yeah, but this is also Snyder.
Yeah.
He kills off a lot of people. He came back and straight up just killed Cyborg's dad. So we all know,
he wanted Lois Lane and Batman to have a baby on Superman. Wow.
He was dead.
Wow, dude.
He was dead.
Look, and I was getting upset for them trying to put the Hulk and what's name together. That's
right. That was disrespectful, because Betsy could have just came.
Betty, her name, Betty.
Yeah.
You ever watch that? There was like a military movie that came out like 10 or 15 years ago called Brothers with, I think, Jake Gyllenhaal. And I think what happens is the two buddies go up and they go to the Middle East and they fight. And one of them is thought to be dead. But then the other one comes back and moves in on his girl and tries to have a kid with her.
That's Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Pearl Harbor too. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Look, Netflix, look, they could Ben, they trying to get you, boy. They
Ben
trying to
Affleck was in Pearl Harbor.
Right?
exactly like you played a role like this before. Come on.
Yeah.
That's funny. Mackenzie is actually saying they need to make a Kratos movie, which is God of War, right? I mean, like I said, with Mortal Kombat. I was putting it together, Marvel and Mortal Kombat doing extended cinematic universe. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a God of War eventually. I mean, the potential is there. I mean, it never went anywhere, but Jake Gyllenhaal played Assassin's Creed, right? And that was a horrible movie, but
he played Prince of Persia.
Prince of Persia. Okay.
Yeah.
It was Prince of Persia. And that didn't go anywhere.
That movie. It wasn't a horrible movie.
Okay. So sure. Yeah, Ray is saying Lois and Batman has a very brief thing way before Clark and Lois was a thing, because Superman Lois was a thing before she had a thing for Clark. Where was this at, Ray? Are you talking about in the comic books? I don't think that's the cinematic universe.
Lois and Batman had a thing way before Superman.
Wow, really?
I don't know. I can't remember that.
She's a news
college.
And he's super rich.
Yeah, and but they're in two different cities. But he is Bruce Wayne. Yeah.
He liked news reporters.
Yeah, that's true. But he loves cat women better.
Yeah, he do.
Okay, y'all. So I think we covered a good amount. Let us know in the chat if there's any, also with a super chat, if you want to show some more love, if there's anything that you want us to answer before we close it out when it comes to this, because we did a very deep dive. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about the potential of the future. We talked about restoring the Snyderverse. There was a lot of ground to cover. We also, kudos to us for doing it under the 4-hour mark. Even though there was so much to cover. But I guess I'll ask y'all in the chat and also in the replay, because thanks for joining us in both. And remember, if you haven't given this video a thumbs up, please do so. What do you see for the future of the DC cinematic universe, y'all?
Huh?
What do you see for the future of the cinematic universe of DC? And let us know in the chat y'all thoughts too. Like, do you think there's hope to make a cohesive thing, or do we just need to start from scratch like they do with their comic books?
Maybe they should still keep going. They even if you ain't gonna get him to come back and do any movies, follow his plot line. I believe they could do that. Like he didn't do if he didn't do the Aquaman movie, I thought the Aquaman movie was good.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever's doing the movies is still doing an okay job.
Yeah.
Just follow this plot line. I love his plot line.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Darkseid eventually get here.
Yeah, same.
And I want to see them bring in more. I want to see another Justice League movie. I want to see more people come. Eventually, I want to see them too. The Hawk people from what is that? Legends? What show is that?
Legend of Tomorrow.
I want to see the two Hawk people.
Hawkeye is coming. Not Hawkeye.
The Hawkman and Hawkwoman. What is it?
Hawk. I know you're talking about. He's actually going to be in Dwayne Johnson's movie. Black Adam.
They're part of the Justice League too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to see that. I want them to bring in the Wonder Twins. I want all that.
Yeah.
I want to see all that.
And I think, why start from scratch? You already got the thing, and this is the thing. Everyone's always going to be comparing it. So why do something new when you could just go? Like you said, even if Snyder isn't the one that does it, let him leave you a map and be like, "Hey, do it this way."
Do it this way.
Exactly. And someone can let it so someone else gets to realize his vision, even if he doesn't want to do it.
Exactly.
What do you think, Michael?
I totally agree with Damon. I also really enjoy the Birds of Prey movie, and it'd be cool to see some fun offshoots every once in a while that are legit good like that. But I think that the Snyderverse needs to be the direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the chat, Boogsworthy is saying, good question. There's hope, and they should keep going with the current Darkseid. Liliana is saying alternative world versions of heroes. We know them exploring the DC multiverse. I agree with that. as well. And this way you don't have to just rely on Snyder's one, right?
Yeah.
If you do multiverse, I know Damon's gonna get, I know I do throw in the multiverse, but if you do the multiverse, you can have it so every movie doesn't have to be like coming from that central Earth. There's other things that happen and you just know, okay, they're connected because they're in different places, you know, so you can do one-offs like that. And they don't have to put so much emphasis on its canon, but in terms of the main one, I think you need to do Snyderverse.
Well, although, like, a Super Friends movie would be awesome.
Super Friends, yeah. Isn't that what Justice League started off at?
Is it
Yeah,
like in that old traditional way?
Oh, the old 50s style of Super Friends. Yeah, they did a movie like that actually, a DC animated movie with Super Friends like that. Ray is saying, I don't see a darn thing because there is no leadership. It's a hot mess and crap load of talent. A bunch of we can't say that. No cheese. That's an old saying. I know. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's I don't know if that.
Nobody want to be an Indian.
Yeah. Although I don't know if that's real PC culture these days to say it that way. But I get what you're saying, Ray. Red Eyes is saying, I feel Snyder will make his last Justice League and Ben Affleck will get to do his Deathstroke film. Exactly. That was another thing. Deathstroke appeared, right? And we were supposed to have, and even the actor who played Deathstroke said he was supposed to play a kind of different, he had a different role in mind of what he was supposed to do, because initially he was actually, when he got cast as Deathstroke, he said he was training for the Batfleck movie, Ben Affleck Batman movie. He was training for that movie because he was cast for that movie that never ended up being realized. So I think that could still be in the cards.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so.
Ray is saying Black Canary and Huntress was not done by comic fans in their visions. Huntress' costume was atrocious and Black Canary barely used her power. That's true. Black Canary and Birds of Prey.
She did more kicking than she did using her.
You know, that movie was I liked the movie, but it was really because they were trying to make it so real world based, they didn't want people using powers as much. So that's why Black Canary's power wasn't shown until the very end. But I'm like, it's still a superhero movie, and that's her main thing. So why is that the last resort here? You know what I mean? It's a superhero movie. We know it's not just people fighting and kicking. It's not Cobra Kai where no one has any powers and they're just good fighters, right?
They have balance.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Only thing about that movie was the thing they did with Zaz. I see they take a lot of liberty with that character. He's different. He's different in every if he's in a movie or a TV show, he's always a different character.
Flash?
Zaz.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy he was the guy in Birds of Prey, he was the guy with the blonde head.
Yeah.
In Gotham, he's the guy with the bald head. That like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like he's always
depends on who takes hold, right? Yeah.
Like he's always different.
Yeah. Kat Harlem, thanks for joining us. Kat is saying, I'm late joining. I enjoyed the additional Cyborg, his father storyline, and Flash minus interview dig scene. We didn't the women singing and smelling Aquaman's sweater. Oh yeah, we didn't need the women singing and smelling Aquaman's. Otherwise, screaming. I actually agree with you too. That was the only thing where I was like, what is going on?
Look, I was thinking, I was like, maybe she's she gonna be like a sea witch or something. The girl that picked.
Yeah, I was like, is this gonna be?
Maybe she's a character they trying to let us
right? And I'm like, I felt like that was Snyder finally trying to give all the actors who had shot their scenes their due. You know, could you imagine shooting what you think is a very powerful scene like that and doesn't even make it theatrically? And you're like, I did this whole singing scene and they didn't even give me a cut. Like, right. You know, so I feel like Snyder was like, sure, just to keep it in there. It did seem a little, and the tone was great. The one thing we didn't talk about was the fact that it went from this really awesome score. They redid the whole score of this film, which was really awesome, a little less traditional, a little bit more rock edge to it. But occasionally there were more alternative rock songs in there, like with Aquaman going in the water and stuff like that, or the Flashes scene where there's like this beautiful, alternative rock, which is interesting. It took, at first, I was thrown off. I was like, what? But then I was like, I get it. Because he's like, it's not just all it's like, it's a little bit of singing. It's a little bit of emotion, I know some people.
Was that Birds of Prey that was like that?
Yeah, they had a lot of music.
I like
of
stuff
singing,
like that when there's a music
Yeah.
between the action scenes and stuff. Remind me of like Face Off. Remember how they had the music with all the gun shooting going on. I like stuff like that.
Ray
But
saying the women. Go ahead.
No,
No,
I was wondering. Like the thing I said they didn't have to have was Batman on that horse going through all that ice and stuff just to get down to that thing. I'm like, he could not have gotten a seaplane or something. A helicopter.
Yeah.
He had to ride the horse across all them damn mountains where it looked like a horse couldn't even supposed to be at.
What you talking about?
Oh yeah, when you arrived to Iceland,
coming to find Aquaman.
Oh yeah.
I was lost for like the first, because that was like a whole 3 minute thing right there. Of him traveling across the mountains and stuff. And I'm like, I'm like, hold up, I know this can't be that. I'm like, why be taking such a long I didn't understand that whole part right there.
Maybe he didn't want to have a jet or something or whatever, you know. He wanted
a jet. You offered $5,000 to talk to the guy. You got money. You couldn't just drop down in the plane.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to scare him away.
Okay.
I don't know. But I get you. Kat is also saying, I like the additional Flash scene except the interview and the dogs. I kind of like the interview scene because this was how we got to see Iris.
Yeah, I'm about to say we didn't have that dog.
That was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, I really liked that.
Yeah, but I see it could seem a little silly, although I thought it kind of showed how smart he is too, because even in the midst of that, he takes the hot dog and that's how he gets the dogs, and he's like, I start Monday, right?
I knew that was going to happen though.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to actually make a hot dog, like grab the bun, the hot dog,
and eat it.
I knew he was going to grab a hot dog though. When I seen him floating in the air, I said, he's going to make a hot dog, then save him.
No, I'm glad he didn't do that, but I'm glad it made sense for the dog thing to get the job. So it worked. But yeah, y'all. So we dug deep. We talked about the future of the DCEU, which I think there is a future. I just think they have to do what I just said. So if WB wants to call me for consulting, I got some good fee rates. I can help y'all with the multiverse. But yeah, I think that I really love this movie. It's one of those movies where, and if y'all have followed some of my live streams before, you know that at times I've gotten a little disillusioned with, I don't know what they're doing with the DC cinematic universe, not only in the movies, but in the TV too, a little bit. And you get a little disillusioned. And I felt like when I watched this movie, it got me so excited about the potential again of why I love DC more than Marvel. Not that I don't like Marvel, but it reminded me why I do, and of loving DC the way I do. So I hope they build on that.
She's saying that they did the scene with Batman on a horse to show how isolated the community was. Mm-hmm. All right, so I get that part about it.
Yeah, Kat is saying that in the chat. Red Eyes is saying they said due to bad storms, no one was able to get into town by boat, which is why Bruce climbed over the mountain. Okay. So there was a reason, Damon.
There was a reason.
But yeah, okay, y'all. So that was our deep dive. I just want to, thank you all who are watching the replay and joined us on the chat, stuck with us and doing deep dive. It's I always love talking about storylines and storytelling. And y'all can actually, in the description of this, go check out the very, very recently launched. It just got put together today. The Fried Disciples. Yes. YouTube that will be starting to put up videos starting next week. One of the things they will be covering is all the seasons of Cobra Kai thus far, along with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Longer form recaps, and they will also be blazing for reasons through other popular culture situations that people can check out.
We'll keep out abrupt with the goings on in the world of can I say marijuana?
No.
Oh, okay.
Or you kind of can't say it. Just use euphemism.
Politics.
Yeah, politics and things like that. If you're into those things, they're connoisseurs. But they also talk about cool stuff, as you can see. For those of you, Yeah. Well, both of them have been on my shows before, guys.
I know, yeah. So basically, the pots are ceramic, and so we can talk about that. We're going to talk about the politics of that, like you know, how many degrees is too much degrees.
Yeah.
But,
well, for those, go ahead.
But we're going to talk about like TV shows, like movies, anything else in pop culture, and we're just gonna have our ceramics around with us.
And all that jazz that y'all, if y'all are into that, y'all can love it. And of course, I will be making appearances occasionally when I want to set them right, depending on what show they are talking about or what terminology.
It'll be a lot of fun, a lot of knowledge, a lot of
and
fun.
we might dabble in arts and crafts too.
Probably a lot of smoking, but a lot of joking.
Yeah,
smoking, a lot of joking.
You'll see the smoke. You won't actually see the other thing. But yeah, you will check that out. And for those of you who are new to this, Michael Damien is my partner. Actually, we're in the same house right now. He's just in a different room. And he did The Stand with me. The Stand.
MOON.
For those of you who watched the new Stand, and of course, Damon Robinson is my brother. I've known him since I was born. My brother. And we did WandaVision together, and the two of them are joining up to do Fried Disciples. So check that out if you are into that part of the culture and whatnot. And also letting you all know, next week, Friday, if y'all, those of you who know about my movie autopsy show, where I like to each month dive into a movie, and usually I'm on the side of talking about how much I dislike this movie and why it's bad. For those of you who remember, me and Michael actually did The Shining one.
Yeah.
And I explained why The Shining wasn't that great. And I've done others. This next week coming up, I will be doing Jason X. And because it's my birthday month, because I started off this month, March 1st was my birthday. And I was like, for my birthday month, I want to do a movie I actually like. And I want to debate with someone who thinks it was atrocious. So I picked Jason X. And for those of you who know CP, who I do the show business show with every Monday on CP's channel and others, he's going to be talking about why he absolutely hates and loathes Jason X, but I will be defending Jason X. So come one, come all, to either come and agree with me or come and disagree with me, or let me convince you why Jason X is like the second best movie of the whole entire franchise. Yes, I said it. It's the second best in the whole entire franchise. That's a controversial topic.
Wow.
It is. I know. Wow. Yeah, it is. Jason X is the second best in the whole franchise. So come check that out, y'all. That'll be going on the 26th. And I'm going to be doing Twisted News and Views throughout the week, along with I got some really cool reviews coming up. For those of you who are excited about Invincible, that's coming to Amazon, the new cartoon series by the dude who did The Walking Dead. I will be doing a spoiler-free review in anticipation of that movie, of that series dropping. So you'll see that as well. And also Solar Opposites, that will be happening. So I got a lot of stuff going on that I'm excited to get into with all of you. And of course, Godzilla versus King Kong, I got to do a review about that. So you'll be seeing that.
Yeah.
You have to.
Pick a side.
Pick a side, yes. I guess we'll have to talk about that. Maybe we might need to do a live on that one too, depending on how that turns out. But okay, y'all. Thanks so much. Thank you to all of you who,
over here.
Scolder, thank you for that. Well, yes. Thank you to all of you who have joined us and continue to join me on my journey here. And have a great rest of your weekend until we see each other next time.
DC stepping it up.
Woo! Thank you, everybody.
As self-care. You know what?